right, firing it on up for the game, and we are on. Hey guys, how you going? So down BK Sport. We are live as the St. George Illawarra Dragons will be taking on the Cronulla Sharks in a very big game here for the Sharks. They must win this game if they want to if they want to solidify themselves in the 8. It's not like sorry, I should actually clarify that. This isn't a must-win game for the Cronulla Sharks in the sense that if they lose, something really bad is going to happen, or if they don't win, they're not going to be able to get somewhere. But it is a really important game for them just to keep up this momentum going into the finals. They've had a bit of a tough season where they've really struggled across major points of it, but they are starting to find a little bit of form, and despite not winning games by extremely convincing margins and convincing results. Last week against the Cowboys, sure, it was a convincing score in the first half. Second half, they kind of slowed down quite a bit. So, look, overall, besides that one, because you give them that, they still need to prove themselves a great deal. And I'm sure this is a type of game that they can do that. But the Dragons are a very tricky opponent where you can't come into it lightly. The Dragons, they're not going to be making the top 8 this year. They just simply won't be. Technically, mathematically speaking, they do have a chance, but I can't see it happening at all with them being on 20 points and the top 8 being up there on 26 and 28, especially with that Dolphins-Roosters game later on today. So the Dragons don't really have too much to play for. I guess if they lose this game, they are still in the battle for the spoon, but I also don't think that they're going to get that either. So they're kind of in purgatory right now, the Dragons. So it's not too important. If they win this game, they're guaranteed away from the spoon, in my personal opinion, however. So, look, let's get into this game here today. Last week, obviously, the Dragons did win 18-12 over the Raiders, which was a huge one for them. And let's see if they can be consistent, which is something that we don't usually talk about with the Dragons. But all right, guys, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new around here, get in the chat, let me know your thoughts in regards to today's game, and let's do it. So this is Indigenous round, so we will go through the name. Well, I'll try my best to go through the names of the Indigenous people, the land of the people when we do go through it, but it is very difficult. So do spare me a little bit as I try to pronounce the names. Now, the St. George Illawarra Dragons, they are the Darawal and Yuin people. They come into this game from 11th position, whilst the Cronulla Sharks coming from the 7th position, and they are the Darawal and Gwealgal people. Now, this is at Jubilee Stadium in Sydney, the home of the Bidjigal and Bedialgal peoples, and the Dragons ins Ben Murdoch-Masila and Hayden Buchanan, with the outs being Matthew Fino and Michael Mollo. The fullback is Clinton Gutherson, who is the captain, with the wingers being Tyrell Sloan and Corey Allen. Centres, Moses Sully, and Hayden Buchanan comes in from the 18th man into the starting centres today. The 5'8" is Lycan King Tagia, with the halfback being Kyle Flanagan. Front row forwards are Emre Gula and Damien Clement. Jeez, I'm all over the shop here, man, today. I'm all over the shop to start off this stream. Maybe it's just because it's the first stream and we've got to get right on into it, but I'm kind of struggling to get words out at this point. But front row forwards are Emre Gula and David Clemmer, and Damien Cook is the number 9. You go to the back row, Luchan Leilua and Hamish Stewart, who comes in from the 15, starts in the back row, and the 13 is Jack DeBellin. Then the interchange, Jacob Little, Hame Sele, Blake Laurie, and Jacob Halangahu, with the 18th man replacement being Ben Murdoch-Masila, and the coach is Shane Flanagan. This Dragons team, they are very inconsistent. Last week they were able to beat the Canberra Raiders 18-12. The week before that, they lose to the Cowboys 38-32. If that's not the definition of inconsistent, I don't know what is. The Cowboys are a team they're more than likely, not more than likely actually, that Eels game's interesting to see who wins that, but there is a good chance that they could go into the bottom 4 this week, and the Cowboys have given up the most points across the competition by about 50 odd points, so they are a very bad defensive team, and yet the Dragons lost to them, but then they went and beat the Raiders, the team who are in first position on the table and have been fantastic this season. Got a great win yesterday against Manly, very clean performance there from the Canberra Raiders against the Manly Seagulls, which hurt Manly's campaign. So it just tells you everything you need to know about this Dragons team, where they have it in them to do well. It's like they play up to their opposition and play down to their opposition too, because the game before the Cowboys game, they lost 20-18 to the Bulldogs, but arguably the Dragons were the better team in that game and deserved the win. Bulldogs obviously scored in the last few seconds to take the win from the Dogs there, to take the win from the Dragons, and they won 20-18. But, in their last 3 games, the Dragons have actually been pretty good. Well, they've been good against good opposition and bad against bad opposition. And then you go back a week beforehand, they lost to the Roosters 31-24. I guess you could argue playing up to their opposition there. It was a close game. Lost a close game to the Raiders, 28-24. Yeah, they were able to beat the Eels. But we go back to round 15, where they were actually up against the Sharks at halftime, 18-0. They were doing well. The Sharks weren't playing well at that point of the season. But the Sharks did come back and win that game 30-18 in the second half. They came and slapped them. Week before that was 56-6 to the Dolphins. So, look, they're a very inconsistent team. You just don't know what you're going to get out of them. And they're a very tricky opponent because of how inconsistent they are. They know how to win some good games. They really do. But they also very much know how to lose some bad games. So, look, Dragons coming to this game today. They've got a team that can make it a tricky opponent here for the Sharks. Obviously, Kyle Flanagan used to play for them. And he's the number 7 today. Overall, this is a difficult matchup for Cronulla in a lot of ways because it is a local derby as well. It is a rivalry. It's probably one of the deader local rivalries in the competition on the basis that the Sharks have such a fantastic winning record against the Dragons as well, though. And the Dragons aren't exactly in a high position. Sharks are still up there in the top 8. So it is probably one of the deader rivalries at the moment, but it is a local rivalry and anything can happen in local derbies. Now, moving to the Sharks, the ins, Hohepa Peru and Toby Rudolph, with the outs being Jesse Colquhoun and Oregon Kafusi. The fullback is William Candy. The wingers are Sione Katoa and Ronaldo Molatalo. Centers of Jesse Ramian and Sia Sivitalakai. You go to the 5'8", Braden Trindle. The halfback men, Nico Hines, and the front row forwards are Adam Fanua-Blake and Braden Hamlin-Uwelli coming in from the 17 to the starting 10. Then you go to the number 9, Blake Brayley, with the back row being Britt Nakora and Teague Wilton, and the 13 is Cameron McInnes, who is the captain. Interchange, Toby Rudolph, Thomas Hazelton, Billy Burns, and Hoepa Peru, with the 18th minute replacement being Daniel Atkinson, and the coach is Craig Fitzgibbon. I really don't understand this every single week. It's like Daniel Atkinson. I don't understand this with what Craig Fitzgibbon does. He always puts him as the 14 when the team list drops. He drops the team list on Tuesday. Daniel Atkinson is the 14, playing as that utility. And then when it comes to the game, he goes to the 18th man and somebody else comes in. And you've seen Billy Burns and Hoepa Peru as 18 and 20 on the team list come into this game here today. So, look, it's really intriguing. It's intriguing what Fitzgibbon does there. I don't understand the point of always naming him in 14 and then not really playing him in the 14. I'm pretty certain he did play 14 last week against the Cowboys, or it might have been against the Rabbits. I'm going to quickly go have a look at the team list. Yeah, so he was the 14 last week and did actually play that game. It might have been the week beforehand, well, like the last 10 weeks beforehand, realistically, where he was that 14 and then got dropped. Here we go. Maybe the last couple of weeks I'm talking nonsense. Maybe it was midway through the season and the last couple of weeks Well, anyway, the point of the matter is that I find that an interesting choice that Craig Fitzgibbon does regularly do. Maybe not the last couple of weeks, though. But look, the Sharks are a team that realistically should be winning this game. They are fighting for their top 8 position. They're actually fighting for a top 4 position right now. And they do still have a bye to come this season. So next week, the Raiders will have a bye. And then the week after, the Sharks have the bye. Then the Rabbitohs and then the Cowboys. So the Sharks still have a bye. They're in a really prime position here to still make the top 4 if Panthers slip up at any stage and the Sharks win their games. If the Sharks lose this game here today to the Dragons, they won't be making the top 4. They're still going to make the top 8. I think the top 8, depending on that Dolphins-Roosters game today, is locked up. If the Roosters win against the Dolphins, maybe it's not. Roosters and Manly still have a chance. But if the Dolphins win, I've got the top 8 locked up. It'd just be positions which will switch around in these last 4 rounds of the season. So, yeah, look, I'm going to tip the Sharks here today. I'm going to say 1-12 based on the fact that I think it's a tricky opponent. Look, the Sharks beat the Cowboys 32-12 last week, and it was a convincing enough result. Like, the first half, they slapped them. In the second half, they slowed down a bit, but it was a really dead game. The Sharks had the win in the bag from early in the start. They beat the Rabbitohs 14-12. That was a massive whatever game. They should have been winning that game by a lot more, but the Rabbitohs just defended. And the week beforehand, they beat the Roosters 31-18. The week before that, they beat the Dolphins 24-12. So they are on a 4-game win streak since their bye, after their loss of 30-6 to the Storm, 34-28 loss to the Broncos, and then you go back to that Dragons game where they won 30-18, and then that week beforehand where they lost 40-10 to the Warriors. So they went through a really bad mid part of the season. They beat the Storm 31-26, then they lost the Roosters by big margin, lost the Warriors by big margin, got over the line against the Dragons, lost to the Broncos despite being up by big margin, then throwing it away. And then obviously lost by big margin to the Storm. But then they've gone 4 games in a row since then. And then next week they play the Titans, who are in 16th position. Then they have a bye. They play the Knights and then finish off with the Bulldogs. So the Bulldogs is probably their only really difficult opponent for the rest of the season. Couple of tricky matchups there. Knights are tricky, but the Sharks should get through that. Titans are tricky, but they should get through that. The Sharks. Dragons are tricky, but they should get through that. And then they play the Dogs. So look, I'm going to tip the Sharks here today. Captain goes down with that ship. I predict them to win the comp pre-season. I was disappointed for a very large point of this year. They're on scam on our table for a very large portion of the year, but they're off it now, and they're off fraud alert. If they win this game today, they're pushing up towards the top 4. So let's get into the ladder and see where these two teams will end up with a winner or loss. Now, the Dragons, they're in 12th position on 20 points. That is only 4 points away from the bottom of the table, only 6 points away from the top 8. But again, there was only 5 games to go with this one, 4 games from next week. I just can't see it. So the Dragons on 20 points are by themselves with a minus 58 points differential. If they win this game here today, they would go above the West Tigers, who had the bye this week. They would go into 11th position because the Tigers are on 22 with minus 121. So they're just with a win by 1 point would take them above them, and they would finish in 11th for the weekend. They cannot go higher than that. If the Dragons lose today, however, now the Cowboys and Eels play each other. The Cowboys are on 19 points. If the Cowboys beat the Eels, then the Cowboys will go up into 12th and the Dragons will go to 13th. Will the Eels go above them? No, their points differential is really poor. So if the Eels win over the Cowboys, they will go equal with the Dragons, but they will not jump them. So they've just got to hope the Eels win that game tomorrow. But if the Cowboys win, they go above them. Knights have already played, Eels have already played, and the Titans and Rabbitohs are 4 points behind them. So, but one of those teams will be 2 points behind them by the end of this round. Rabbitohs don't have a bye this season, Titans don't, so they probably prefer maybe the Titans to win that game actually, because then the Rabbitohs would actually be equal with them on that bye, with those bye points. So, yeah, the Dragons, the lowest they can finish is 13th. The highest they can finish is 11th. Not much changing there. And now you understand why I'm saying they're a bit in purgatory. They've been in purgatory for a while now. Now we go down, to the Cronulla Sharks, who are in 7th position. Now, this is a huge position here because they're on 28 points, which is equal with the Brisbane Broncos. They've got a points differential of plus 43. The Broncos have a points differential of 104. But the Broncos have obviously lost to the Storm this week. So if the Sharks win, they go above the Broncos into 6th position. They go equal with the Warriors on 5th position. But the Warriors points differential, hey, Warriors fans, been telling you this all season, you're at 26, whilst the Sharks are on 43. So if the Sharks win, they will go above the Warriors into 5th position. Now, the Warriors do play the Bulldogs later on today. Very big game, that one. Very, very big game on that game. So we'll wait and see how that one turns out. But if the Sharks win, they go to 5th, and then they're only 1 point behind the Panthers, but they do have that bye coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So yes, they're not going to be the top 4. The highest they can finish is in 5th position, but geez, they'll be knocking on that door. And then they're just going to hope the Bulldogs beat the Warriors so the Warriors stay behind them in 6th position. If they lose this game, however, then the only team that can jump above them is the Dolphins. They're on 26 points with a plus 171 points differential. If the Dolphins win that game, the Sharks will go down to 8th position. Broncos go down to 7th, and Dolphins go up to 6th position. So, yeah, the Dolphins would just want I think every team in that battle, like that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 area, or 4, 5, 6, 7 area, are wanting the Dolphins to win, because although you might lose a ladder position, it really does keep the Roosters away. It makes the separation between the top 8 and the bottom 9 a 4-point gap between the Dolphins, Sharks, and Broncos. And then the Roosters and Manly, they're on 24 points, whilst the Dolphins, Broncos, and Sharks are on 28 points. So I feel like most teams in that area will probably rather the Dolphins win. Even though you lose a spot, it just really guarantees your top 8. It guarantees your top 8 for 2025. But yeah, there you go. The Sharks, the lowest they can drop is 8th position. The highest they can go is 5th position, but a win in 5th position will mean that they are very, very close to getting into that top 4 and validating our thought processes on what the Sharks should have been pre-season. At one point, people were doubting the Sharks even make the 8, which is crazy considering their roster. They have a really solid roster here. It's very balanced, and it just has been really interesting to see how faulty they've been throughout the year. But, you know, at the end of the day, they are still kind of kicking along. They are still around, and you know, they're very close to putting themselves into a higher position to get into a double chancer, and they need a double chancer because we know how they've been in the finals in recent years, where they kind of just get knocked out in straight sets. They don't want to have one quick game. To be fair, like if you come 5th, you're probably going to be playing the Broncos, in my opinion. I think you'll be playing the Broncos at home if you get that first elimination final, because I don't see the Broncos winning a great deal more this year. I still think they make the top 8 probably, but I don't see them winning a great deal more with the injuries to Adam Reynolds, Ezra Mam, Selwyn Cobbo, Xavier Willison, the likes, right? So if you come 5th, I'd say it's a home final against the Broncos. If you come 6th, I'd say it's a home final against the Dolphins, maybe potentially even the Warriors. Potentially the Warriors could drop as far as 7th. It really depends on how they kind of fire up in today's game against the Dogs and the back end of the year, but I could easily see the Warriors falling to 7th with their issues right now. But yeah, look, it'll be like I'd like to see them get a home final. They've deserved it throughout this season, but it's just very sorry, tentative times in New Zealand. So yeah, 5th probably plays Broncos at home. 6th probably plays either Warriors or Dolphins at home. And yeah, that'll be very, very interesting. But there you go, guys. That is a ladder. The 2 teams are out in the field. They're doing the Welcome to Country right now for Indigenous round. Obviously, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new around here. Do not forget, we have 3 big games here today. So obviously, we've got this one here, the Dragon Sharks. Then after this, we have a whopper of a game between the Dolphins in 8th and the Roosters in 9th, which tells you a lot about how this last 4 games will unfold after this round, because it'll either create a separation between the top 8, or it'll just add that Roosters to equal 8th with the Dolphins. Dolphins will stay there, but geez, that's a huge game. And then an even bigger game as well is the Bulldogs versus the Warriors later on today. 3rd versus 5th. Warriors trying to get back into the top 4. Bulldogs obviously trying to bounce back after a fraud alert game against the West Tigers. You know, very big games here today. And then even tomorrow, Titans Rabbitohs, the Battle of the Spoon. And you could even argue the Eels and Cowboys is a bit of a spoon battle as well, because whoever loses that is well entrenched in that spoon race. So lots of big games to finish off this round. This has been this is a very key round in regards to a lot of teams. But all right, guys, like I said, thumbs up, subscribe. Let's get to the chat, and hopefully it's a good game. Hopefully it is a good old game here. All right, let me move this chat over there so I can put that across from the game and fire it up. Jackson 12 Puta says, what? Something in my heart? I'm not too sure. Ryan Couple 6 says, get ready to drop that fraud alert on Sharks again. Hey, maybe. They lose this game, the fraud alert, probably, yeah, it would come out, because the Dragons are in 12th position. So the fraud alert would come out if the Sharks do lose this game. I'd probably have to agree with you there, Ryan. Bretton says, both these teams haven't been very consistent this year. Hard for the win. Yeah, I agree. The Sharks started off this season very, very slow. Then the Sharks had a very good stretch of like 6 games in a row they won. And then they fell apart again and then lost a bunch of games in the middle part of the year with no origin plays. It's literally 0. Adam Fanor-Blake here, first tackle, gets his ball to the 15. Sharks start with the ball. So the Sharks in the Origin period had a grand total of 0 players in Origin, and yet that was their worst point of the year when they were getting pumped by teams that had Origin players out. The Roosters won, like 40-18 or 40-12 or whatever it was, and the Sharks had no outs and the Roosters had all of their Origin players out, like 5 of them. So it was really crazy to see, but now they're on a 4-game win streak. They are getting a bit of consistency at the right time. They're not playing the most electric and exciting football, but at the end of the day, they're getting 2 points here, getting 2 points here, getting 2 points there. So they're putting themselves back into the mind frame, and I think as long as they win this game here today, because I can't guarantee shit with the Sharks. Nico Hines kicks his ball on 5th tackle to the Dragons at the 20, and Corey Allen, Queensland Origin winner, into the decider. Nathan Cleary at your heart out. He gets the ball here at the 15. So yeah, look, the Sharks just need to win this game. If they win this game, it'll tell me a lot about them not... Like, it's going to be a tough one. It's a tricky game in a game against a local rival. Sorry. I did update the score. I did. I definitely refreshed it, lads. I did it. It was me. It didn't do it automatically. So 4 tackle here for the Dragons at the 35 on their own side of the field. A good run here from Damien Cook, who'll get taken down at the 48 on 5th tackle. So yeah, Sharks just need to prove themselves here today, because if they lose this, it kind of tells me they're still the same team that we've known through most of this year. Next week, the Sharks will take on the Titans, like I said, and realistically, they should be winning that game, even though the Titans and Sharks are probably 60-40 Sharks way results through history, probably 60-40 or so their way. And the week after, like I said, they get the bye. So if they win this game, I actually maybe have them for top 4, because the Panthers, they have their next 3 weeks, 3rd tackle of the Sharks at the 48 on their own side of the field. The Panthers over the next 3 weeks play the Melbourne Storm, the Canberra Raiders, and the Canterbury Bulldogs, the top 3 teams 3 weeks in a row. So they'll definitely lose one of those games. If they win all 3 of those games, they win the comp. If they lose one of those games, the Sharks probably make the top 4. They probably make the top 4. So Cronulla fans should get excited about that. They kick that ball through, and it will be Tyrell Sloan taken down at the 5 on first tackle. 3 minutes in. I don't know what you're saying, Jackson. I'll be honest with you. I don't know kind of what's happening there. You say urban in your area is a lot better. I'm not too sure what you're talking about. Sorry, man. Vasma says Sharks 18-16. Could see a result like that, yeah. Could see a result, but I just think for me, yeah, it doesn't matter how the Sharks win, as long as they win and just keep up this momentum at the right time of the season. 4 tackle for the Dragons to the 25, and Luciano Leilua, he'll get this ball to the 33. That's going to be a penalty to the Dragons. Huge penalty to get them into a good advantageous area. Cameron McInnes gives away the high tackle. Ibrahim says Sharks should win this, but never know with the Sharks this season. It's the same thing for both these teams, though. Dragons shouldn't win this, but you just don't know which team is going to turn up. You really couldn't tell. Like last week, that first half was really, really good for the Cronulla Sharks, but the second half wasn't spectacular. And then if you go back to that Rabbitohs game the week beforehand, it was just so boring and one-up footy and controversial as well. It was just a really bad game. A bad game overall. And it's like you expect that from the Rabbitohs with all their injury problems right now, but you don't expect a performance like that from the Cronulla Sharks. But at least they got the 2 points, and it was close. All right, so third tackle here for the Dragons. Emre Gula back to Damien Cook. Then on to David Klemmer. And Clemdog, he'll get this ball to the 12. They're already in an attacking area here. Fourth tackle. Damien Cook out of the left-hand side. They give it to Kyle Flanagan. Flanagan off to Jack DeBellin. And DeBellin's going to be taken down to the 10. Fifth tackle. Yeah, I definitely don't know what you're saying, Jackson. Jaden says, I don't know. Dragons with a try! Out of nowhere, he was held back too. If he didn't score that probably would have been a sin bin. But the Dragons will score early here, the first 4 minutes. And Emre Gula is going to score a try out of nowhere. Oh, boy. Well, Shaggy Sharks. What's happening? Shaggies, don't make me do it. Don't make me flip out. Shaggy Sharks. That was really bad from Will Kennedy. That was really, really poor defense from Will Kennedy. It's like, you're the fullback, you don't have the kick covered, you're coming across, then you get beaten out by a prop coming through, and then if he doesn't score there, you're off for 10 minutes. So I think it's actually better that Emre Gula has scored there than Will Kennedy going off for 10 minutes for holding a player back. So he's very lucky there, Will Kennedy, in a way. I know he's still conceded, but I'd prefer probably to give up that than to get binned for 10 minutes and then maybe give up 2 tries. But yeah, that's not good to start here, Cronulla. That is not a good start at all. Jaden says, I don't know why, but as a Sharks fan, I never jumped on the hype train bandwagon for Jack Williams. There was a hype train bandwagon for Jack Williams? Who, what, where, when, and why? Jack Williams? Well, Jack Williams at the Eels. Jack Williams at the Eels, right? That's who you're talking about? Jack Williams. Are we talking about the same Jack Williams? Yeah, Jack Williams at the Eels, the back row at Parramatta. Why are we talking about Jack Williams? I know he was at Cronulla beforehand, but why are we talking about Jack Williams? People were talking him up to be the next Gallen, but honestly, the guy was full of errors. Still a solid, though. Yeah, I don't really rate Jack Williams. I never really saw some massive hype bandwagon train for Jack Williams, but as a Sharks fan, you probably would have seen more about it than I would. But yeah, that's a really interesting one to even be talking about Jack Williams right now, because he's obviously at the Parramatta Eels. Bailey says, have you put a sports bet on any games? No, I'm in Vietnam, bro, so I can't bet. And I also don't really like to bet. I've had problems in the past with gambling and whatnot over the years. So, especially when you're watching every single game, mate. If you bet on it, then your commentary and your reaction to the game is very dependent on what your bet was. And then if the bet's not going your way, then the commentary for one team, you kind of look for those, like you're like a fan, right? So you look for the penalties, you look for the errors, you get upset, you get annoyed. So it kind of ruins the commentary in a lot of ways. But also, too, I just want to watch rugby league and I'm just passionate about the game. And I can't do it anyway in Vietnam. I can't bet on sports bet and the likes over here. So second tackle now for the Dragons. They're at the 15. Then they pass this ball. No, taken down to 25. King Tongia, third tackle. Sean says all Sharks needed speed. Yeah, I wouldn't say they're a very speed team by any means. Yeah, I'd say Multala's got a bit of pace in him. But overall, yeah, you're right. Yeah, Cronulla don't really have a great deal of speed. Their fullback isn't speedy. Blake Brayley's got a good speed out dummy half, and he's been fantastic this season. Rabbitoh's game was probably his only somewhat downer, where not that he played bad, but he just didn't play to the same standards that we've seen throughout him this season. But Blake Brayley's had a very good year. He's very fast at a dummy half when he wants to be. But overall, you're probably right. The Sharks just really lack speed. Second tackle now for Cronulla Sharks at the 35. Nico Hines gives it to Britt Nakora, and Nakora will be at the 43, third tackle. Jade says, the amount of errors Roosters made against us a few weeks ago was diabolical. That's the Roosters every week, though, man. That's not a surprise. That's the Roosters every single week. That is what they are as a team. The Roosters and Broncos are very similar teams, where they've won a lot of games won a few games this year for the Roosters, and won a lot of games for the Broncos. But they do it through a lot of errors, but still just finding a way to win the games. So it wasn't just a thing against the Sharks, it's the thing they do every week. Dragons will get the ball here at the 8. Gutho safe under the high ball. It'll be first tackle, the 8. Dan Wollongong says it's going to be a shake-up. Samuel says the Sharks' Indigenous jersey may be the Indigenous jersey of the round. Yeah, it is beautiful, man. It really is a beautiful jersey. My favourite colour is blue, so it is. Most of my teams worldwide are blue, except for Chicago Bulls and Queensland. They're probably the only teams I support worldwide that are not blue. So yeah, I love the colour blue, and this is a really beautiful Indigenous jersey from the Sharks for sure. So fourth tackle of the Dragons. They're not making a great bunch of metres here. Now there'll be fifth tackle at the 30. Not a great bunch of metres on that set. And they go out to the right-hand side. Gutho flicks it off to Flanagan. Flanagan dinks it through. And Will Candy gets at the 40. Not the play there from Flanagan. I'd just be getting the... Oh, Will Candy gets away here, taking up the 40 on the Dragon side of the field. That's a bad play from Flanagan. You don't need to push that kick there for a little grubber at the halfway point. I'd just keep them down there in their own line because the Sharks have been struggling right now, but you've maybe just switched the momentum in the Sharks' favour with a little grubber that goes straight to Candy, and then he breaks away for a 15-20 metre gain, and now they're on the attack, 25 metres out, and it's a 6 again. So Adam Fanua-Blake, first tackle at 15. If you concede here, I've got to really put a lot of blame on Flanagan for that decision-making. I don't think that was the play at all, and it's put the Sharks on the attack. So Will Candy gives it to Teague Wilton, and Teague Wilton is about 6 metres out here from the line, second tackle. Arguably, that should be a 6 again as well. David Clemmer's been holding him down, but no, they don't call it. Braden Trindle at the 10. He'll flick it out to Nico Hines. Nico Hines at the back here to Jesse Ramian. And Jesse Ramian pushes away from one kind of. He'll be 5 metres out, third tackle. Third tackle, back to Sione Katoa. Katoa off to Nico Hines. Hines to Cameron McInnes, and this is just going to be a one-up play through the middle. Fourth tackle, 10 metres out. 10 minutes into the first half here, guys. 30 minutes to go with the first half. Hit that like button and subscribe. And that's going to be a nice little play from Blake Brayley off to Trindle. Trindle, Will Candy. Luckily, he caught that. No, he didn't. And that's going to be... Well, that's a knock-on from the Dragons, actually. Oh, they're going to call a Cronulla knock-on here first. I would say it went backwards from Cronulla, then a knock-on from the Dragons. Are they going to challenge this? Probably not. I'm pretty certain that... For me, that's not a knock... Oh, unless Talakai knocks that on, I would have probably thought that was a Dragons knock-on first and Sharks knocked it back. But anyway, Dragons ball here at the 10. Jaden says, yeah, back in like 2020, Sharks fans were talking him up, and I spoke about him because I saw a comment in this chat talking about certain players Sharks have lost, and he was mentioned. Well, fair enough, yeah. I didn't wake up thinking I'd be talking about Jack Williams Sharks days. Oh, knock-on first tackle from the Dragons. And here come the Sharks. Adam Fanua-Blake, 5 metres out. Zero tackle. Jeez, that's not good from the Dragons. Out of the left, Blake Brayley, Nico Hines, short ball. Braden Hamlin, Uwelli! Try time for the Shaggy Sharks. Try time for the Shaggy Sharks. We've seen... Like, if you bet on the try scorers today... The 2 first try scorers for both teams have been props. I think we said this last night too in the Raiders-Manly game maybe, or somebody else yesterday. Emre Gula for the Dragons has scored, and Braden Hamlin-Uwelli has scored for the Sharks. 2 guys who never score. But yeah, that all comes down to that Dragons error on first tackle from Corey Allen, and the Sharks just score, bang, like that, and are going to tie this game up at 6-6. Going to tie the game up at 6-6. Bob says, doesn't help that they plaster betting companies everywhere, jerseys on the grounds and ads. Yeah, look, I've had a difficult time over the years deciding whether I allow sponsors on this channel from gambling companies, which I haven't done. I have been contacted on multiple occasions, but it's just something that... It's like, I'm aware that people are going to bet regardless, right? I'm aware that people are going to gamble, and it's not my responsibility of what people do, but I also think that it is a bit of my responsibility in regards to promoting it. So it's like, it's a very difficult moral issue in a lot of ways, where I have turned down some pretty decent sponsorships on the basis that, you know, it is a very big problem in Australia, and it is a very big problem in the NRL. And, you know, it's difficult. It definitely is difficult to turn it down, but I do think it's the better option internally, because it just means that I feel like I'm not promoting how I've been in the past. At times, the Sharks get the kick at 6-6. I think, like, at the end of the day, I know how it feels to be at the lowest of lows when it comes to gambling. I do. And I don't want other people to feel like that, even though it's not my responsibility. It kind of is my responsibility, if you understand. So, yeah, there is a lot of gambling throughout the game and sport in general, and that's kind of been my thought process. Sean says, will Candy Dally and fullback? I think Tedesco will be, man. I think Tedesco will get it. Brett says, what do you think of Jake Arthur's game last night, considering the score put on us? I thought he was good in his first appearance. I'm not going to lie, man, I didn't really kind of focus in on it. You guys got absolutely slaughtered, so I didn't really kind of take a big focal point to a lot of that game, but also not so much the Knights. I don't think I said bad things about him throughout the game, though, so I wouldn't say he played awful, but like the Knights are the worst attacking team of the comp by a very large margin in regards to points scored this season. Second tackle at the 25. Everyone says, sure, no, James Tedesco is miles better. Yeah, sure, but like Will Kennedy was actually first on the Dally M leaderboard overall players at one point earlier in the year before it went behind closed doors. But I do think that Tedesco might potentially win the Dally M itself, let alone the fullback of the year. Yeah. All right, so right-hand side, and Cameron McInnes to Nico Hines, and Hines nearly breaks through. He'll be fit tackle at the 45 on the Dragons side of the field. Mo says, same mistake, still cannot tackle. Yeah, well, that's... You know this is going to happen. Like, you unfortunately do know that's going to happen with St. George. They're definitely not the most consistent team, and like at least they've scored a try here early, which would have given a bit of a shock to the Sharks, but it's just the kicking game from the Dragons has been abhorrent this year. It is one of the worst kicking games in the competition. I don't even necessarily want to put too much down on King Tagia, but he's a part of it, and then you've also definitely got Kyle Flanagan there. I did think Kyle Flanagan had a good game last week. David Clemmer comes off the field here, but the kicking game is always just atrocious from the Dragons, and we saw that with the momentum switch in this game. The Dragons were well on top for the first 8 or so minutes of the game, and then Flanagan, instead of kicking the ball down deep and keeping the Sharks in their area, he went for a grubber around the 45-50 and went straight to Candy, who then runs into the attack in 40. Yeah, sure, they make a mistake at the 10, the Sharks, but then the Dragons immediately make a mistake and the Sharks score. So the kicking game for the Dragons is just really, really poor, and it does come down to their halves. 4th tackle here for the Dragons at the 37. Brent says, yeah, that's the 13th time this year scoreless. Wow. 13th time this year scoreless? What? No way. No way. Oh, first half? 13th time this year scoreless in the first half. Okay. Oh, yeah, because I was going to say 13 times scoreless is just not true. Just not true. But yeah, okay, I get you now. Yeah, I get you. To be fair, against us, you guys are great in the first half. Not so much in the second half, though. Samuel says, if the Panthers get the 5-peat, this will be my final year watching the NRL field, you dude. Hey, Sean, I agree with Jay here. Why do you send a message and then retract the message? Like, what's the point? I'm happy to read it out, dude. Yeah, Jay's just timed him out. I don't understand why you keep doing this. Why do you keep sending a message and then retracting it? So the Dragons, Tyrell Sloan taken down at the 3 first tackle. Moses, what do you think about the Flanagan situation? What Flanagan situation? Oh, extension, sorry. You're talking about Shane Flanagan extension. Well, look, he was the coach of the Sharks when they won the premiership in 2016. Dubious in regards to a lot of ways there, and obviously was suspended for a while. Look, I think that the Dragons' issues aren't necessarily to do with the coach. I do think a lot of the Dragons' issues do come from a lot higher up, but I can understand it. I think that there's no point going elsewhere. I think Shane Flanagan extension probably makes the most sense. All right, so the Dragons kick that ball to Will Candy at the 20. He brings it out to the 30, then to the 35, and it'll be first tackle. But yeah, look, Samuel, I don't disagree with your frustrations. Obviously, we'll see you next year, mate. Like, even if the Panthers win, I know you'll be back. Good offload there from Jesse Raymond to Nico Hines, and Hines will be at the 47 second tackle. I understand the frustration because it will be very boring. If it's a Panthers Storm grand final, I think we all might throw up, to be completely honest with you. But I don't see it happening. I think people aren't really looking into the games that the Panthers are playing. They need to wait for these 3 weeks. And I told you guys this for the last month and a half. I've been saying, who gives a shit about them beating teams like the Titans and teams like the Eels multiple times in that stretch and teams like the Rabbitohs and whatnot. You know, wait till you see these next 3 games. Sharks get this ball up. No, he might be held up here. I don't know. He caught this ball in the end goal, but I don't know if he got held up or not. It's going up as no try, but the Sharks may have scored here. It just comes down to his first put down. Does he get the ball down immediately after catching it, or does he get held up? I just didn't give a shit about how the Panthers have been playing this last few weeks. I need to see them against the Bulldogs, Raiders, and Storm in the next 3 weeks. So, yeah, Teague Wilton, clean catch there. Clean catch. And mid-air tackle there. This could be a penalty try. They're happy that's... What? That is absolute... What do you mean, Kevin Walters? He can't not do anything there. He's in the air, and he continues with the tackle. He's in the air. That's a penalty try. That should be a penalty try. He'll be held up here. Yeah, but it's a penalty try. Yeah, he does. He clearly grabs him right there. It's a penalty try. Yep, they're going to say this is a penalty try. Yep, so we've seen 2 penalty tries this week. Unfortunately, the Titans don't receive a very legitimate penalty try last week, but this week we see two penalty tries. Storm get 1, now the Sharkies will get 1. So this is going to be a try to Teague Wilton. Tyrell Sloan gives away the penalty try. Mitchell says, beating the Eels and Tigers twice, Rabbits and Titans, what a fantastic team. That's what I'm saying. So, 10-6 Sharks hit the kick to come. That's what I'm saying about the Panthers. You know, yeah, look, they can only play who they're playing, right? They can only play who they've got in the future. There's no debate that they've won their games, and besides the Titans game, they've won their games fair and square. Outside of that Titans game, they've won all their games fair and square. Now, the issue is that they're playing nobodies. So it's like, yeah, sure, you're getting the 2 points and you're winning a lot of games in a row, but these are against bottom 4 teams. I will reiterate this to people. I will reiterate and go through their draw here. And we spoke about it yesterday on the stream, but in their win streak, they beat the Knights yesterday, who could be in second last this weekend, but are in fourth last now. But if the Eels win and the Titans win, then the Knights will go to second last. The Titans, at the time, they were second last as well when they lost to the Panthers. So you're talking fourth last, you're talking second last, you're talking the Tigers, who at the time were fourth last, the Rabbitohs, who at the time were 16th, but now they're last, the Eels, who are third last, the Bulldogs, which was a great game, that's the one I give them, and 100%, and the Warriors were top 4, now they're 5th. I'll give it to you, but the Warriors are very beatable. And then you go back to the Tigers, who at the time were 15th, or 14th. 17, 16, yeah, 14th. And then the Eels again. The Eels again, who are in third last. And the Knights, where they lost 25-6 with all their Origin players, who are in fourth last, or fifth last. So it's just like, you sit there and you go, sure, the Panthers are winning a lot of games in a row, but who the fuck against? You know, like... I really need to see them go up against these big 3 teams these next 3 weeks. Harahoni says that was a dumb call. No, it was a penalty try, 1,000,000,000% every day of the week. It was 1,000,000% a penalty try. Sharks make a mistake and the Dragons get the ball hit to 40. Explain to me how that was a dumb call, Harahoni. They both go for the ball. Teague Wilton catches it cleanly, and then Tyrell Sloan comes around the player. Is not going for the ball, and he's in the air. So it is absolutely a penalty try every single day of the week. I don't even know why the confusion's there. Sean James, g'day, mate. Brett Nesbitt says, Panthers had one of the easiest draws in the last, 10 weeks. Yeah, for sure. I think if Panthers fans take their glasses off for a second, they will understand what I'm trying to say. I'm not even trying to shit on you. I'm just trying to say you haven't proven anything yet. So Luciano Leilua will be 18 metres out from the line, third tackle. But again, you can only play who the draw gives you, right? You can only play who's there. So it's not on the Panthers. It's just there's a bit of context applied. And the Dragons will be taken down to the 15, fourth tackle here. Can they tie this game up? 19 minutes in, they go left-hand side off to Flanagan, then to Emre Gula. And Gula is going to be fit tackle, 10 metres out of the line. 10 metres out, Damien Cook off to Flanagan. Flanagan here to King Tagia, and their kicking game again. Oh, this might actually work out. No, Brayden Trindle's there, and he's going to get out of the in goal. Oh, Dragons, you got to do better than get him in the in goal there. Awful kick from King Tagia that actually nearly worked out to be a miracle in the end from a bit of a confusion in the line. But ultimately, the Sharks do get out of the in goal. Second tackle, though, at their own 3 metres. They're struggling to get out here. They're struggling to get out here. Good defense from the Dragons at the moment. 8 metres out, third tackle. Geez, you need a little bit of something here, Cronulla, and that's a bit of magic from Sione Katoa that brings it out to the 20 at the very least on 4 tackle. And that should be a penalty. No, I thought he wasn't square. But look, the Sharks managed to get out of their own 20 there at the 35 fit tackle. That was a tough first 3 tackles, however. And now, oh, maybe charge that. Is this going to be 6 again here? Oh my god. Is this 6 again? It still fits. What's Jesse Ramian doing? What's Jesse Ramian doing? Kick the ball, dude. Okay, well, that's going to be ridiculous from the Sharks. I don't think you can blame Nico Hines for the charge down, but Jesse Ramian should absolutely have been kicking that ball. I don't understand what Jesse Ramian's doing there. But anyway, so Dragons ball here at the 35. That's going to be first tackle. 20 minutes gone in the first half. 20 minutes to go. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you're new around here. Betty West, as I follow the Dragons, I'm expecting to lose by 13 to 18. Yeah, I went 1 to 12 Sharks on the basis that the Dragons still probably think, well, this is, like, if they want any chance to make the top 8, they have to win this game, and then have to really hope the Roosters win today against the Dolphins in the game right after this. So the Dragons here at the 15, King Tagia, he'll be 10 metres out from the line, 4 tackle. I can't believe Jesse Raby didn't kick that ball just then and just went to the ground on 5th tackle at 30. And now the Dragons, Shaq to Bellin. That's going to be a penalty here to the Dragons for a tackle without the ball. Tackle off the ball, without the ball. Penalty, St. George. The bunker may have a look at this. Hadoni says Warriors are going to do an upset. Still waiting for you to tell me how that was a dumb call from the bunker to call that as a penalty try. That was definitely it's soft. Like, he comes into contact with him, but he doesn't actually tackle him. He's gone down there, Blake Laurie, to try and get a penalty, and he's got it, but it's not going to be a bin or anything like that. But Warriors to do an upset, I get a bit of a vibe about it, but that's a hard game to predict because the Warriors really desperately need a win, but the Bulldogs are obviously a very good team outside of that Tigers game last week. However, oh no, it's not raining. They did say it was meant to be raining in the game, but this is obviously in Sydney, and it's not raining right now. Looks nice! Like the Dragons! Down the right-hand side, Tyrell Sloan will score. And Jesse Raymond, you've got to really kind of put a bit of blame on yourself there for allowing the Dragons to get the ball in an attacking area because, yeah, that was really interesting not to kick the ball. Now the Dragons will score down the right-hand wing through Tyrell Sloan. This is looking like a high-scoring game here, folks. Rivalry game, derby game. And there's a chance here for the Dragons to tie it up on the conversion. This is a really quick pass there from Moses Sully, which is beautiful. Beautiful, slick, quick pass from Moses Sully. And we've seen this quite a bit recently. Sully's got some great hands for a quick pass, like just a tap on, and that's exactly what he does. And maybe it's about to be 12-12. Ibrahim says, I don't think the Dogs will lose 2 in a row. Didn't they recently lose 2 in a row? Let me have a look. They definitely recently lost 2 in a row. Where are they? Not recently. Oh, no, they actually haven't. No, sorry. I'm looking at the... Oh, yeah, they did. They lost the Panthers and Broncos. Broncos' result was a bit different. A bit of context there. But, look, I'd argue the Cowboys game was a loss, and I'd argue the Dragons game was a loss, but they did win those games. So, I will just clarify that. They did win those games, but if you watch those games, you know it wasn't exactly a great performance. I just don't know. Like, I feel like the Warriors are in desperation mode at the moment. Yeah, they're going to make the top 8, but at the end of the day, they need to get a move on. If they don't get a move on, if they get whooped today, like for me, there's no way that anyone could tip them to win the comp. I don't think anyone's really tipping them to win the comp either. I don't see it. I haven't seen it all year, to be fair. All right, so Kyle Flanagan from the right-hand side. He will miss the kick, so it will be 12-10 to the Sharks with 18 minutes to go the first half. Mitchell says, I've seen enough. Give Tyrell Sloan a documentary. It makes sense. It makes sense. Jay says, hopefully lagging slept in and keeps sleeping in. It's like recently he's tried to get himself timed out. And it's like, okay, you can do that and we'll just time you out. I know Jay definitely likes it. Jay enjoys a good old click of the 5-minute timeout for the old lagging. Dadsmate says, no chance. Oh, dearie me. Asking Dadsmate his opinion on the Bulldogs-Warriors game is a no-hoper, that. That is a no-hoper. Most of it was a rough kick. Yeah, well, it doesn't look like there's much wind around either. Like, obviously in Wollongong there's a lot of wind. Kogarah, not so much. If you've been to Kogarah, you know I don't think there ever really is much wind in Kogarah because it is very suburban. I know it's close to the bay, but, like, it is very suburban. There's not really the ability to get a whole bunch of wind here at this stadium. Second tackle now for the Dragons. They get out left-hand side. King Tagia, Lucha Leilua. Good run from him, and he'll get his ball to the 30. Jay says he's been into Blitz's angry pills. Fatima still gets into them also. All right, so. Oh damn, Jay, that might have just proven your point that you messaged me about. That comment might have just proven the point that you were saying last week. Fit tackle here at the 45. Do you know what I'm referring to? do you know what I'm referring to? Sharks here at the 20, and it's going to be Sione Katoa. Take it back to the 12. Oh, you did that, yeah? Well, shit, man, what do you expect me to do here? How do I know everything, you know? I don't know nothing. The only thing I know is nothing. Penalty to the Sharks, that's what I know. Penalty to the Sharks. Missed the boat yesterday. Well, Jay, listen, what do you think? What do you think this is? You think this is me making the boat? I missed my flight to the Penrith game last year in round 27. You know, how am I meant to make the boat if I can't even make my flight down to Penrith? Like, I obviously booked another flight and went down, but I missed my flight. So I'm expected to miss it. Paul says, can't you put a mirror in the background? Yeah, I can. I can do that, Paul. We're not going to do that, though, because that's still, guess what? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, illegal. Yes, Paul. Yeah, no, it is illegal, because guess what? You are looking currently for a illegal stream. So first tackle down for the Sharks, the 45, and now it's going to be a 6 again. David Clemmer passes his HIA. I didn't even realise he went off for HIA, but first tackle for the Sharks, the 45. Dasmate says, can't you get a job? It's a great, valid point as well. I do use all my mirrors for my OnlyFans streams. Yeah, big OnlyFans. Mass. Oh, bad play the ball there from the Sharks. It's going to be a mistake, and the Dragons will get the ball at 37. Adam Fanua Blake with the bad mistake there. Dasmate says, how cute Warriors fans think they'll outnumber us? Well, a couple of years ago they probably would have. By about 60,000. But, yeah, not anymore. Dogs will have a large attendance. It'll be a big attended game. I wonder what the ticket sales are looking like. I don't know how confident Warriors fans are right now. I don't know how confident Warriors fans are, but they do have numbers in Australia. Mitchell, hopefully they don't look like Pats or Jay's going to freak out. Put your sunnies on. Pats? Oh, yeah, Paddy Cummins. What a bloke. Jay's big fan. Massive fan. Massive. By the way, we're getting close to the Ashes, man. Going to be some ripper streams. So 6 again here for the Dragons at the 38. Samuel says, who do you think the fastest player in the NRL? Lofiana Khan-Pereira, baby. David Clemens, second tackle at the 30. Dragons have a chance to take the lead here. Very interesting game here. Definitely a few errors from both teams, but very close game, and the Dragons keep getting some pretty solid opportunities on the attack. Sharks haven't had a great deal of opportunities on attack, but they've been clinical with it and scored twice. Sorry, one sec. 10 metres out, fourth tackle. Naps is up the wires. Oh, penalty of the Dragons, and I'm taking the 2 here to make it 12-12 if I'm the Dragons. Right in front. Take the 2 to make it a 12-12 ball game. Yeah, look, Nat, I like the Wires. Don't get me wrong, I'm not even talking shit about them. Yeah, they are going to take the 2. I'm not talking shit about them at all. I would like the Warriors to do well. My perfect grand final is Bulldogs-Warriors because the atmosphere and the amount of people that would watch it, the game of the NRL would grow so significantly with a grand final between the Bulldogs and the Warriors. It would be incredible, right? Especially a team that hasn't won it since 2004 and the Dogs and the Warriors who have never won it. It would be so amazing to see that. I don't think it happens though. Like, let's be honest and let's be real here. Like, the Warriors don't look like they're going to be in the grand final. And they do look like they could go out pretty early in the finals too, especially if the Warriors come 5th or 6th. Or even if they drop into the 7th or 8th, like the point is that the Dolphins game will be a very difficult one for them. The Sharks, yes, the Warriors beat the Sharks this year in a different time. I could see the Warriors sneaking the Sharks, just depends on what Sharks outfit turns up that day. I do feel, however, the Broncos, depending on if they have Adam Reynolds or Ezra Mam and the likes, I think they lose a lot with Xavier Willison being out, though. I think that's the real underrated one out of the 4. Everyone's going to talk about Renault, everyone's going to talk about Ezra Mam, and people are going to talk about Selwyn, but I think that Xavier Willison is actually one of the biggest losses of the 4 there, because it makes Payne Haas be the one that everyone has to rely on there. I think the Warriors could knock the Bronx out. That'd be a huge game, too. That'd be a really, really high-tenor game. Even, like, grand final's not going to be this, but Warriors-Broncos grand final would do phenomenal numbers as well. Phenomenal. Because I remember how hyped that 2023 prelim was. All right, so 12-12. Dragons get the kick at 13 minutes to go the first half. It is 12-12, ladies and gentlemen. Nap says the Dragons only play good on the good teams. Agree, yeah. I spoke about this before the game started, yeah. Nap says the Warriors are good, but they've sold hard. Yeah, they have, But also, people never really wanted to talk. I remember getting a little bit of heat from a Warriors fan earlier on this year. The chat will remember it. Dragons, he'll get this ball at the 3, who was trying to say the 2 points is all that matters and points differential doesn't matter. And it's just a really, really, really incorrect statement to make. It is like the 2 points very much matters, but the points differential, especially when you're in the top 8, matters greatly. And it tells you what a team's been like this year. So you look at the points differential of the Warriors, and they're on plus 26. Now, the top 4 are plus 119 Panthers, plus 122 Bulldogs, plus 248 Storm, and plus 168 for the Raiders. That's the top 4. But the teams outside of the top 4, in the Broncos, are plus 104. Sharks not too great at plus 43. Still 20 odd better than the Warriors, though. And the Dolphins on plus 171. You know, the points differential of the Warriors has been a real key telling point to say that they've won games this year, but no real games have they been winning by big margins unless you're talking about the Sharks and whatnot. So, yeah, look, they've got a few injuries. They've definitely got more injuries now, but they've got Fisher Harris coming back in today, Chanel Harris Tavita, which is big. But the Warriors' injuries, Ali Leotawa, he'd normally start. Jacob Laban, he'd be on the bench. Fisher Harris, he's playing this week. Luke Metcalf is injured. Mitch Barnett is injured. Rocket Berry is injured. And Wade Egan is injured. So they've got a few injuries here, but at the same sense, every team's got injuries, man. A lot of teams have pretty significant injuries across the board. So, look, it's the Warriors never really convinced me from the start. They've really exceeded my expectations, though. Fit tackle here at the halfway point for Cronulla. They've really exceeded everyone's expectations. Like, I put my hand up and I said I put him in second last pre-season because I didn't know how they'd adjust from Sean Johnson to Luke Metcalf. Sharks kick it through. Dragons will get the ball at 20. Good catch from Gutho with the 21st tackle. You know, they exceeded everyone's expectations. Most people had them bottom 4. Or maybe bottom 6. I had them second last because I just thought that they would really struggle on the attack. And they have struggled on the attack. I was right about that. It's just their defense has been so good for the majority of the season. That's the big positive for the Warriors. They did not make the top 4. That's a high tackle. No, they didn't call it. 4 tackle at the 42. I would have called that, referee. The Dragons now at the 50 on fit tackle. 10 minutes to go the first half here, guys. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. When people talk about the game, and I'm not trying to say that I know more than everybody else, right? But when people talk about teams and when they speak about whether they're good or they're bad, or ladder positioning and whatnot, Sharks ball first tackle at the 20, they don't actually look into how they got there. They don't look at the points differential. They don't look at the games that actually played, because a lot of the time they're actually not watching every single game. So if you watch the Warriors this year, yeah, sure, they were a top 4 team, but they weren't ever a convincing top 4 team. They just weren't. And if you'd like to tell me I'm wrong, then please tell me I'm wrong and tell me how I'm wrong. But they just weren't a convincing top 4 team at any stage of the year. And that's going to be a penalty to the Sharks. That's stupid from Damien Cook. It's a penalty to the Sharks at the halfway point. The Warriors are still... I think next year could be a really good year for them, but they just need to fix this attack. And Luke Metcalf might have won the Dally M this year, but you also have to look at why they weren't scoring points even when he was playing well. Because he was playing some incredible footy, and yet the Warriors were still like a bottom 6 team for attack and a top 3 team for defense. But people don't talk about that. They never talk about that. People refuse to talk about that. They don't like to acknowledge it. 27 metres out from the line, and the Sharks, Blake Brayley, first tackle, gets off to Nico Hines, and now second tackle, 23 metres out for the Sharkies. They've been clinical when they've been in the attack today. They haven't had to attack too much. But when they've gotten down here, they've had a pretty good opportunity. Will Kennedy kicks it through. It will be a little bit too far. Oh no, what's happened here? Kennedy's complaining about something. We're going to the bunker. No try. Maybe there was interference here. Oh no, there might be a bin here. There might be a bin for the Dragons coming up. Might be a professional foul. I don't think it's a penalty try because the ball does look like it's going dead at every moment. But Kennedy kicks it through. Well, what are you complaining about? Unless you complain about Lucian Leilua here. Oh, it's Leilua. Oh, okay. Yeah, he runs across. This might be a bin here. It's not a penalty try. The ball's going dead regardless. But this is a professional foul. No, but see, Lucian Leilua isn't going... They're not going to call a penalty try here. They may call a... He stops right there and goes into him. He changes his angle. It's a bin. It's a bin. It's not a penalty try because the ball is going dead, but at the end of the day, it is a professional foul. It's not a penalty try. You can't call that. He's clearly changed his line. Yeah. Yep. Leilua has 2 looks previous to this. He's playing the man. Ruling out a professional foul or penalty try, but why? It is a professional foul. Oh, so it's a penalty. Okay, no, look, you know what? I back it, actually. So it is a penalty here to the Sharks. It's not a professional foul or a penalty try. But with that being, yeah, I don't think he gets the opportunity wasn't going to be there because the ball was going dead regardless. So it is going to be a penalty from right in front. If you're the Sharks, you take the 2 here every day of the week. I don't even know why Damien Cook's complaining here. You're lucky he didn't give up a professional foul. And you're lucky the ball was bouncing too fast and hard to the dead ball line. Otherwise, it would have been a penalty try, Damien Cook. So I don't even know why you're complaining. 8 minutes 41 to go here the first half. The Sharks are going to take the 2. They are going to take the 2. Dansmate says, Wise fans should thank us. We are the only reason the Warriors have won something in 30 years of existing. That one thing is a minor premiership. Minor premiership is just so dead, bro. It's just so dead. It's like it's great, but it's only good if you go on to do something in the competition, you know? So, 12-12 here, but it's about to be 14-12 to the Sharks. Give me 1 second here. Alright, we're back. Titus says, I go for the Sharks to win this game 1-12. Yeah, I think so, man, but it's a close game right now. Dragons are giving it a good go. Giving it a good go, and this is very, yeah, I agree with the commentary, very seesawing game right now. Naps is the war. Oh, that's right. Paul said, which team is looking stronger? I don't think anyone's really looking stronger right now. This is proof, though, that the Sharks have been quite clinical in the area. Every time they've gone down to the attack, they've scored some points. 2 tries and a penalty now. Whilst the Dragons have probably had more of the ball in better areas. Possession-wise, it's actually 50-50, but I'd say that the Dragons have had more ball in better areas. The only issue is the Sharks have made quite a few mistakes here. Their completion rate is under 70% right now, which is not great. But I wouldn't say there's a clear and definitive leader in this game at the moment. I don't think Jet Cleary make his way in. Not yet. Not yet. I want to see how Luke Metcalf comes back from a serious injury, though. Long-term injury. So the Sharks will get the ball at the 5. Braden Trindloff to Thomas Hazelton. Alex Caruso. Man, get around him. And they'll be at the 12 on first tackle. Says, oh, well, I'm looking forward to a hopeful 2026 season for the Broncos. I wouldn't give up hope just yet, but, like, yeah. I don't know how 2026 goes for the Broncos because Adam Reynolds is getting older. Ben Hunt is getting older. Yeah, they've got Kobe Black coming through, but is he ready yet? I think the Broncos should be solid with guys like Payne Haas and Xavier Willison and the likes. Ben Takura maybe coming off the bench, but Broncos are in a real weird situation right now in the next couple of years. They're in a very kind of intriguing situation with their spine. Because Reece Walsh is the fullback. There has been word of him going to 6 and Ezra to 7, but I just don't think that's the case. I think you go Ezra to 6 and Kobe Black 7 into the future, but obviously not necessarily just yet, similar to with the Warriors with like Jet Cleary or the Bulldogs with Mitchell Woods, but Mitchell Woods in a more difficult situation because the Bulldogs have their Galvin and Burton there. I do think that Mitchell Woods deserves to get a crack, though. I do actually think that a guy like Mitchell Woods is ready. I think New South Wales under-19s win their game if he didn't get injured. Dragons here at the 25, but he's just not in a situation. So I don't know how long that lasts there at the Dogs before he starts to get a little bit antsy. Zach says Titans first and ladder for real. Yeah, Zach, you know, we're a very serious channel here, mate. We've never made a joke in our lives. You know, you gotta, here's what it is. You know, people might be upset, but Titans have never lost a game in their history, so it should be, you should be used to it by now. They're going to let this ball bounce. The Dragons, no, Sharks will get this ball at the 28 through Jesse Ramian. Junior Royce's halftime draw looks like, no it doesn't. No it doesn't. Sione Katoa here at the 30. John says, you're 100% right. I highlighted the irony of differential last week against the Dolphins. Absolutely. But I've been saying this all year, and it's like, I feel like, and valid, you know, people can take it as an insult. It's not an insult. I really emphasize this to you guys here. Maybe a couple of years ago, I was a bit more antagonistic with it, and I created a bit more entertainment by talking a bit more shit. Nowadays, when I say something that is negative criticism, it isn't to try and piss you off. It's to try and highlight what I'm seeing. Doesn't mean that I'm right in what I'm seeing, and I open the chat always for you guys to tell me how I'm incorrect with it. But a lot of people, when you say something negative against a team, Tyrell Sloan at the 15, regardless of how your intentions are, will take it offensively and think that you're just having a crack at their team, and it's just not the case. Second tackle here for the Dragons at the 35. Good run there from Moses Sully. And there was a couple of Warriors fans who bit back at me talking about the points differential. It's like, points differential doesn't... It exists for a reason. Like, it exists for a reason. I can tell you right now, teams like the Manly Seagulls and the Sydney Roosters would hate points differential because the Dolphins are on plus 171 and they're on Roosters plus 20 and the Manly Seagulls are minus 10. So it's like the Roosters, you win today, that's great. You're still going to be in ninth position though because the points differential is bad. Points differential matters. It absolutely matters. And points differential tells you a long-term view of how the season has gone for you. So third tackle of the Dragons actually received the 6 again. Now they go to the left-hand side of the 35. Damien Cook off to King Tagia. King Tagia, he's away here. Oh, he gets the ball off to Gutho, and Gutho's going to score. No, he's not. He's going to pass it off to the debutant. Well, I don't know if he's a debutant, but Hayden Buchanan. Yeah, no, he's a debutant. Gutho could have scored, but he passed it off to Hayden Buchanan, and the Dragons will take the lead here, 16-14, with 3 minutes to go in the first half. Nice run there by King Tagia to break through the line, and really unselfish stuff there from Gutho. That's real good leadership there from Gutho. I really criticise his leadership in that game against the Canterbury Bulldogs, and deservedly so for deciding to go for the short dropout. But that right there is good leadership there from Gutho to give Hayden Buchanan a try and debut when Gutho would have 100% scored. Would have 100% scored there. So try time there for the Dragons, and 16-14 with the kit to come. Desmond says Dragons stole the Dolphins jersey. Hold on 1 second. Dragons came to the competition, what, 1920? When did the Dragons... Oh, well, that was when it was the Illawarra Steelers and stuff. When did the St. George Illawarra Dragons actually start? When did they merge? It was 1998, okay. Yeah, I think they existed a little bit before the Dolphins did, Mr. Dasmate. It might have existed a little bit more. A little bit longer. But it says, if you're not playing for a minor premiership, what are you really playing for? Well, if you are a Tigers fan, you're playing to avoid the spoon. If you're a Titans fan, you're playing to avoid the spoon. Yeah, a bit different. Bit different. Two-time champion Alex Caruso. Yeah, greatest player of all time, does. Charles says, points differential affect ladder position? Absolutely. Absolutely it does. Because, for example, right this very second, if you are in 8th position, right, which is the Dolphins, they are on plus 171. The Roosters, they are 2 points behind, or they're going to miss the kick, so it's a 16-14 game here to the Dragons with 2 minutes to go of the first half. The Roosters, if they win today against the Dolphins, then that's fantastic. They could win that game by 60 points and go to plus 80. The Dolphins, however, will go down to plus 111. So that means that if this was the final round of the season, the Dolphins would make the 8 and the Roosters would not make the 8. They'd be equal on points, but the points differential would keep the Dolphins above the Roosters, and the Roosters are going to be saying sayonara and off to Bali, whilst the Dolphins are going to be playing the first week of the finals against the Warriors in the current ladder positioning. So absolutely. 2 points at the end of the day is the most important factor because it is a win. But when it comes down to ladder positioning, absolutely does points differential matter. And it's like the Warriors at points this year have been equal first with the Bulldogs and the Raiders and the Storm. And yet their points differential has been bad, which has kept them down there in 3rd or 4th position, comparably to being up there in 1st position. And it's like a 1st and 2nd position gets a home final in week 1 against 3rd or 4th. 3rd or 4th has to play away in week 1, and then if they lose, will get a home final in week 2, but they were disadvantaged because they didn't have a good enough points differential to get above the teams to set themselves up for a home final in week 1, which then gets you through to the prelim if you can win in front of your home fans. So there's an injury here for the Dragons. God bless him. I hope he's alright. Olivia says she's got into Suncorp for the Dolphins and the Chickens. As a Broncos fan, Olivia, who are you going for? Are you going for the Dolphins like I keep saying you probably should, or are you going for the Roosters to keep the Dolphins below you? Because if Dolphins win, they go above you, but it makes a 4-point separation between the top 8. But if the Roosters win, you stay in probably 7th, unless the Sharks lose this. You probably stay in 6th then. But if the Sharks win this, you go to 7th and you stay in 7th, but then the Roosters are only 2 points short of you and with a chance to knock you out of the finals. And you play the Dolphins next week, which will put the Dolphins, if they win, above you. Moses Suli is the one down here at the moment. Said, wow, 12 runs for 128 run meters, 3 tackle busts, and 1 try assist. Moses Suli's been having a game. Johnson's Warriors also left at least 12 points on the field last week. Who did the Warriors play again last week? Jeez, I can't remember. One sec. Round 22. The Dolphins game. Oh, for sure. Warriors were the better team. Warriors were the better team in that game. It's just the Dolphins found a way to score in the end. The Warriors in the second half deserved the game, but they threw it away on the siren. Just like when they scored against the Knights on the siren, they threw it away on the siren of the Dolphins. And that was a very big 4-point game. If they had just held out a couple more seconds, that was 5th tackle and the last play of the game for the Dolphins when they scored to win it. The Warriors would currently be in 4th and they'd be chasing down to the Bulldogs in 3rd, but instead now they're in 5th and they're in the finals. They're guaranteed for the finals, but they're behind the Panthers and with the Sharks having a bye, they're also behind the Sharks. But it's a good game right now. 4th tackle in for the Dragons at the 28. Zach said the Sharks lose, I'll be sad. Chris says Dragons might take their revenge. Maybe Chris, but at the end of the day, the Dragons were up 18-0 against the Sharks about 6 weeks ago and then lost that game 30-18. So we'll have to see how the second half plays out. But the Sharks did run over the top of them in the second half. And this is a very different game out of the Sharks played last week against the Cows, where they dominated them first half. They're going to have to do a lot better in the second half. But the Dragons are a tricky opponent. That's what I always say. So first tackle and Blake Brayley at the 40. There's a minute 9 seconds to go in the first half. Just don't concede here, Dragons, or that'll tell you a lot. Talakai at the 45 on the attacking half. Third tackle. Blake Brayley to Trindle. Trindle to Thomas Hayleton. Do they think about potentially going for a 2-point field goal here? The 7 tackle set won't really matter. And they could try and tie it up. I just don't know if they have the distance in them. Who has the distance for a 2-point field goal? They're not even going to think about it. All right, so the Sharks now at the 30. Blake Brayley. He'll go to Braden Trindle. And now Trindle kicks this ball up, and there's not going to be a chance there. He's going to be taken in the in. No, he's going to get out of the in goal here. And Tyrell Sloan taking out the 5. I would have considered a 2-point field goal there. I just don't know if they have the distance in them. John says, in my opinion, the best NRL season since COVID. No offense, Panthers. I would say this is one of the best NRL seasons of all time because there's so much to play for. Sully is definitely injured here, by the way. Sean says, Dragons haven't beat the Sharks in 2022. Really? I thought it was longer. I thought it was like 11 games in a row the Sharks have beaten the Dragons. I could be wrong. You might be right. You're probably going to be right. And that's going to be half time. I just want to quickly go and have a look and confirm this stat. Sharks won 36-12 there, and the other game they played, no, the Sharks beat them both times that year. I'm pretty certain it's since been, they beat them, the Dragons 32-18, round 1, 2021, and then beat them 13-12 as well. So 2021, they won both their games against them. 2020. The 2020 is when you're thinking about when the Dragons won 30-16 in the earlier game, but the Sharks did win the follow-up game 28-24. So no, early 2020, but no, not 2022. But anyway, that's half time here, guys. Let's go through some of these stats. Obviously, keep chatting away in the chat. Let me know your thoughts about the first half and how you feel the game has gone. Obviously, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new around here. We're going to be live for all 3 games today, which is Sharks, Dragons. Then we've got a big game between Dolphins, Roosters, and then a massive game between the Bulldogs and Warriors later on today. Now, the try scorers so far, Dragons, Emre Gula, Tyrell Sloan, and Hayden Buchanan on debut, with the Sharks try scorers Braden Hamilton and Teague Wilton. The possession is 52% possession of the Dragons, 48% possession of the Sharks, with the time possession being 13 minutes 37 for St. George and 12 minutes 45 for Cronulla. So very even game there in that capacity, only about a minute more time possession for the Dragons. The ball has been in play for 25 minutes, which is actually pretty decent. Now completion rate, key telling point here. So anything above 80% is hitting the marker where you need to be. The Sharks are at 78% at 15 from 19. So they're making a few errors there. It's better than the 67% that we saw a few moments ago. They're at 78%. It's not hitting the marker. It's not awful, but it's not great. Then you've got the completion rate of the Dragons. 95% is incredible. This Dragons team loves a good error. But today, they've been nearly perfect with 20 from 21 completions at 95%, and that one incompletion ended up being a try for the Sharks. So this is the reason why they're winning this game. They're limiting the errors, and they're not providing the Sharks the opportunities to score. The Sharks have been clinical when they're down in the area, and they've scored 2 tries and a penalty with their very limited opportunities, but they're just not getting a great deal of ball down there. So that's just how the Dragons are going to win this game, by keeping that completion rate very successful. Now, the runs. 94 runs here for the Dragons, 778 run meters. So they're about 150 odd meters behind the 10 meters on average per run that you look for. And the Sharks are at 83 for 735. So this is a little bit of a worrying stat here for the Dragons in a way, because although they've had 11 more runs than the Sharks, there's about a 50 odd gap between the Dragons and Sharks run meters at 778 for 735. So if you do go for the basic metric that it doesn't tell you everything, but it is a good marker, if you give 10 meters on average per run for the Sharks to get up to where the Dragons are, that's 11, so that's 110 meters. They go to 845 compared to the 778 for the Dragons with the same amount of ball on that basic metric. So they're not quite hitting that. They're probably at a very similar area too with the Dragons, if not just a little bit better, if you are going to try and be very, very pedantic about it and go for the actual average of run meters in today's game. But at the end of the day, they're both very similar in regards to the run meters. And if the Sharks had the similar amount of ball, they'd be doing similar things. Post-contact meters is 263 for the Dragons, 232 there for the Sharks. Difficult metric to read. I would say that's probably quite even there as well if you try to equate the ball. Then you got line breaks, 2-1 to the Dragons. Tackle breaks is 10-9 to the Dragons. So both teams defending very, very well here. I know it's 16-14, but tackle breaks of 10-9 means they're both not missing many tackles at all. Now, the average set distance, 25 and under, you turn the stream off, it's pathetic. 25 to 30, it's disgusting. 30 to 35 is underwhelming. 35 to 40 is average, hitting the marker, what you need to be hitting. 40 to 45 is great. 45 to 50 is fantastic. And 50 plus is perfect. The Dragons are at 37.07 on an average set distance. So that's a bang smack in the middle of hitting the marker. Average, they're doing what they need to do in regards to making the run meters. Their average sets are okay. It's fine. And the Sharks aren't too far away. They're on 38.69. They are a bit better, though. This is what I'm saying. You try to equate those run meters, and you can see the Sharks are actually performing a little bit better on the average set distance with 38.69. So, yes, it's only about a 1.6 meter advantage there for Cronulla, but it proves how close this game is in a lot of ways in regards to those run meter stats. So 38.69 is mid to higher range of the average hitting the marker category. It's not great. It's not awful. It's just bang smack in the middle. Average play the ball speed is 3.17 seconds for the Dragons and 3.34 seconds for the Sharks. The Sharks are actually playing the balls at a very fast, well, not a very fast rate, but a fast rate. But the Dragons at 3.17, that's an extremely fast rate. That is extremely fast. They are playing the ball very, very quickly here. So they're getting a move on very, very smoothly. Then you go to the offloads, 4-3 to the Sharks. Kick refusal is 75% for Cronulla, 86% for the Dragons. And then we go down to the defense. And like I said, both teams are defending very, very well here on an effective tackle percentage, despite the score line giving up 30 points already. Anything from 85% and below is awful, which is absolutely pathetic. 85% to 88% is underwhelming. 88% to 90% is hitting the marker where you need to be hitting. 90% and above is a fantastic first half, and both teams are above 90% here. So the Dragons are at 90.26%. They are in the great category. They're in a fantastic category defending-wise. 176 tackles made for 9 missed tackles and 10 ineffective. So yes, their ineffective is bumping up quite a bit. That's pretty poor. You don't want to be getting 10 ineffective, but 9 missed tackles is brilliant. 15 to 17 is the average amount of missed tackles in a half for most teams. They're at 9s. That's well underneath that. If they can limit the ineffective tackles, they could have been around the 95% marker. So look, 19 bad tackles in the first half, 9 really crucial missed tackles. But with that being said, overall, that's a very good stat line there defensively for the Dragons. And the Sharks are even better at 93.59%. That is brilliant. 219 tackles made, so about 40-odd more tackles made. I shouldn't say better because it's not better. But 40-odd tackles made more than the Dragons because they've had less ball. But 10 missed tackles and 5 ineffective. So that's why their defense is better here on an effective tackle percentage, because they've got pretty much the same amount of missed tackles. It's only one different, 9 for the Dragons, 10 for the Sharks, which is still 5 to 7 below the average. But they're limiting the ineffective tackles at 5. So the Dragons with 19 bad tackles, Sharks with 15 bad tackles, but they've tackled more. They've had more time to defend. And overall, they have been collectively, on an effective tackle percentage, the better defensive team at 93.59%, which is very, very good. So both teams defending well here, despite the scoreline. Now you go to the negative play. Big gap here. So 1 error to the Dragons, 4 errors to the Sharks. That tells you a bit. Now, the average for errors is between 6, maybe 5 to 7 is an average amount of errors in the first half. Anything above 8 is really awful. Anything 4 and below is a really good error. Well, not really good. You don't want to have any errors, but it's a pretty solid stat for having errors. So the Sharks are at 4. The Dragons are at 1. So brilliant first half in regards to errors for the Dragons. And a very good first half for the Sharks. It's not really banking up those errors like the 7, 8, 9 errors that you're seeing from teams like the Newcastle Knights. You're seeing from teams like the Parramatta Eels. You know, the Sharks have still kept it pretty low, but the Dragons, brilliant first half. And then the penalties conceded. This is a bit of a frustrating one. 3 penalties conceded each. So both are giving away a couple. 6 penalties in the first half is frustrating to see. Ruck infringements is 2-2, and then on reports is 1-0 against the Dragons. So you look at these stats, and you overall, a quick summary. Sharks are making more errors, but the ill discipline is pretty even with the penalties conceded and ruck infringements. The defense of both teams is fantastic. Kick defusal is a pretty similar rate. Offloads is similar. Play the ball speed is fast for both teams. Dragons just extremely fast. The average set distance is pretty much the same, just separated by about 1.6 metres per average, but the Sharks doing a little bit better in that department. Like I said, tackle breaks are pretty similar. Post-contact meters are similar, but I think the Sharks with an equated ball probably go above them. Same thing with the run meters. But the completion rate is a massive telling point here of 95% to 78%. So this game is completely up in the air. The only concern that I have about the second half is that, again, the Sharks and Dragons played 6 or so weeks ago. The Dragons were up 18-0 and dominated Cronulla, but the Sharks came and scored 30 unanswered points in the second half and slapped them to win 30-18. So the Dragons have scored 2 points less than what they did in that game, and the Sharks have scored 14 points more than what they did in that game, and they ended up winning 30-18. And the Sharks have not lost a game to the Dragons since 2020, right? So I do still worry about the Dragons in this game, but at the end of the day, they are in front. They are leading. I still probably will tip the Sharks here, but it's a very back and forth 50-50. Back and forth 50-50. But let's get to the chat. Sean says, Dragons haven't been... Oh, I've already read that comment, and it was wrong. Sophia says, how many tries in the first half? There were 5 tries in the first half, I'm pretty certain. Yeah, Emre Gula, Tyrell Sloan, Hayden Buchanan, Braden Hamlin-Uwelli, and Teague Wilton. So 5 tries in the first half. 300 Sean, Chicago says, should I take the Sharks right now? I would. I would say that I believe the Sharks are going to win. It's not my fault if you bet on games and you guys lose. I just want to really clarify that in regards to people who gamble based off of my opinion. But I will say that, in my opinion, I think the Sharks do probably still win this game. But the Dragons did play well in that first half. You never know with these two teams, man. They're both very polarizing. They're both very up and down. And I don't ultimately think that either team has been bad in this game. I think even though the Sharks are down by 2... both teams have actually been playing some pretty quality football for the most part. Yeah, there's been a couple of errors here and there and a couple of penalties for sure. But this is a rivalry game between two teams that are in the local location. Cogger's obviously not too far from Cronulla, and they're in that Shire area. So, look, it's a tough game to read, especially with the Dragons being at home at half-time and also the context of the season. Sharks need to win to put themselves into the top 4 race. But if they lose this game, they're still going to stay top 8 and just hope that the Dolphins win, even though that would put the Sharks down to 8th. It would separate them by 4 points, the rest of the bottom 9. And then for the Dragons, if they lose this game, their season is completely done. Because then it's just way too hard, and especially if the Dolphins win, that's 4 wins away from them, and there's only 4 games after this to go. So this is literally last chance season. The Dragons are hanging by a thread every single week. That win against the Raiders last week was huge because it kept them somewhat in the race. But look, I don't think that anyone... I think the top 8 personally is actually locked up. The only team for mine that I think could maybe make it is if the Roosters win today. That'll put them in good stead. But still, the Dolphins' points differential is so good. Vas and Memora says Sloan is a money printer at the moment. Yeah, Moses Sully and Sloan down that right-hand wing have been really brilliant recently. Yeah. Titus says Roosters and Dolphins in for Dolphins 1-12. Bulldogs and Warriors in for Warriors 1-12. All 3 games today for today's round. Tough. That's a tough call. Dolphins could win that game 13 plus. Roosters could win that game 1-12. I'm okay with you going Dolphins 1-12, but the Bulldogs Warriors 1-12 is a ballsy prediction. But I don't think it's out of this world. I definitely could see a Warriors upset, but it's a very tough game to predict. Bailey says, I got this game and 2 other games on my multi, but these games are getting close, which is fun as well to see. Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is the thing, and this is what I've been saying for weeks now. Everything is at play. Usually at this point of the season, we kind of have a good idea that there's 2 teams in the race for the spoon. The top 8 is pretty regular. We've usually got these amount of teams that are competing for it, but still the top 8 is absolutely... actually, I'll go through it. So the wooden spoon is being competed by the Titans, the Rabbitohs, the Eels, the Knights, the Cowboys, and even the Dragons right now. I would push the Tigers away and say they're in purgatory. I'd even push the Dragons away and say they're in purgatory. But for the sake of the discussion, I'll include the Dragons. So that's 6 teams that are currently fighting to avoid the spoon. And then you've got the top 8, where you've still got Manly there. Roosters, Dolphins, Sharks, Broncos, and the Warriors are all still fighting for their top 8 spot. Warriors, just for the sake of the argument, but I would say that they've locked themselves up. They would need to lose all 4 games, and then the Roosters, win all 4 of their games to go off. But actually, not even necessarily due to points differential. All 4 of those teams below them would have to frequently win out, especially the Roosters, which I don't think is happening. So the Warriors are in the 8. But the point is at least the Broncos, Sharks, Dolphins, Roosters, and Manly are all fighting for it still. And then you go to the top 4 battle, and you've got the Panthers, the Warriors, the Broncos, the Sharks, and even the Dolphins who are battling it out for that top 4. And then for the minor premiership, you've got the Raiders, the Storm, and the Bulldogs. And if the Panthers can't do it. But ultimately, every single thing is at play here. Every single thing. So it's a very exciting season. This whole round is just spectacular. The whole round is great. Storm Broncos was huge. A team going for the minor premiership up against a team fighting for the 8. The Knights Panthers was huge for different contextual reasons because the Panthers were fighting for the top 4 and the Knights were fighting to avoid the spoon. The Raiders and Manly was massive because the Raiders were fighting to get back on top of the table whilst Manly are fighting for their top 8 spot. This game is massive, especially for the Sharks, because the Sharks are obviously fighting to make sure they make the top 8 and also fighting for a top 4 spot. The Dolphins Roosters right after this, you've got 8th versus 9th. I don't even need to explain how big that is. Then you've got the Bulldogs and Warriors in 3rd and 5th, and I don't even need to explain how big that is. You've got the wooden spoon battle tomorrow between Titans and Rabbitohs in 17th and 16th. And then you've even got another spoonish battle between the Eels and Cowboys in 15th and 13th. And the Tigers are just grateful for a bye. So every single game this round is spectacular. And it's still half time here. The Sharks are coming out in the second half. But if you look at next week, Panthers Storm, Thursday, that's a whopper of a game to start off the round. That is a whopper. That's an absolute belter of a game to start off the round. Warriors Dragons is interesting for a lot of reasons. If the Dragons win today, then they're still on the precipice of still competing in the top 8. They're there, but they're not, but they're there. The Warriors, obviously, I don't know how they go this week, but it's a huge game for them. Roosters Bulldogs is a massive game as well, especially if the Roosters lose today. But if the Roosters, actually no, win or lose, that's a massive game for the Roosters to keep themselves in the hunt for the 8, whilst the Bulldogs are fighting for the minor premiership. Sharks and Titans, Sharks might be still fighting for the top 8. They're all fighting for the top 4. Titans trying to avoid the spoon. Broncos and Dolphins, a local rivalry up there in Brisbane, and both teams are going to be right next to each other at the end of this round. And then the Rabbitohs and Eels, another spoonish battle between 2 teams, which, you never know how that one's going to go. Tigers, Manly. Tigers not really playing for too much. Manly maybe not so much as well, but, that'll be an interesting game. Probably one of the weaker matchups of the round, though. And then the Cowboys and Knights is another spoon battle. So every game has a lot playing on it, which is not what we say at this point of the season all the time. It really isn't. It's a very exciting season, man. But all right, second half is about to start up here. 16-14 to the Dragons. Let me know in the chat who you think wins this game. Hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you're new around here. We'll be live for every single game. Where we? So let's go to the Dragons. Jay says, I bet the NRL... Oh, where'd it go? I bet the NRL Brady Bunch are all smiles at the moment. The NRL Brady Bunch? Who are you referring to? George, is anyone trying to watch from New Zealand? I'm watching from Vietnam. Is that what you... Oh, I can give you that. So the Sharks will kick it off, and the Dragons will receive the ball at the 10 through Flanagan, and he gives it off to a rampaging Blake Illawarra, who brings it out to the 15 on first tackle. Haggadah says Sharks play a random style of footy. I don't think it's random. I think it's just quite boring. I think the Sharks play a quite boring style of footy on the basis that they just don't have a great deal of pace as someone in the... A great deal of pace, so they're very structured. Which is kind of what we've seen from the Storm over the years, but the Storm still have pace in their team, They're very structured when they had Cameron Smith, Billy Slater, Cooper Cronk and the likes, but they still had guys like Billy Slater. Even Suliasi Vunivalu had a good deal of... maybe Suliasi Vunivalu wasn't great on the pace. I remember he got caught once really poorly. But anyway, the point is that the Storm, despite playing very structured, had always had a bit of pace around as well. Whilst the Sharks, you'd probably say their fastest player is maybe Mulatalo. Maybe Mulatalo. I'm really not too sure. And the Sharks will get taken down to 25 on first tackle. Sean says, do you think if the Sharks never let Royce Hunt, Connor Tracy and Jack Williams off, they would be a top 4 side right now? Jack Williams? No. What's with the Jack Williams comments today? It's the most random thing I've ever seen. Why have we seen multiple comments about Jack Williams? Sorry, Sean, but I gotta laugh at it. We had someone talk. Moses Sully's been ruled out with his knee injury, by the way. That's rough for the Dragons because he's playing very well in this game. 4-10 for the Sharks at the 48. What's with the Jack Williams chat? Connor Tracy wasn't going to be getting in over Will Candy, so I don't know where you're thinking to place him. But he's a good player. And there's an offload there from the Sharks, straight to the Sharks. So straight to the Dragons, and it's going to be at the 42. No, it's going to be a knock-on from the Sharks. So the Dragons get the ball at the 42 anyway. Royce Hunt, sure, but I don't... Like, they're still potentially a top 4 team anyway. I actually don't even know why that was a knock on Sharks. I thought that was just Dragons ball anyway. But, like, no, Connor Tracy doesn't really get in because you've got Will Kennedy, and I don't think they're going to be switching him out, even though I do think there is a shout for Will Kennedy not necessarily fitting into a championship-winning Sharks team. I think he's good. He can be very good, but he can be also poor. I don't know if he necessarily fits into this Sharks system on a championship level, right? Neither do I think Connor Tracy does, though, but at least has a bit more pace than Will Kennedy in a lot of ways. And Connor Tracy's played well for the Dogs, but no, the Jack Williams comment is extremely confusing because he's not really done much at the Eels at all and wasn't really doing much at the Sharks either. But Royce Hutton's probably the best one for the inclusion of how the Sharks play because I do think they lack a bit in the forwards despite the fact that they signed Adam Fanor-Blake. So third tackle now for the Dragons. They're at the 33. King Tegea gives it out to Blake Laurie, and Blake Laurie's going to be 25 metres out for tackle. Back onto the attack already. Again, the Dragons have had the better position of the ball today. They've had the better field position. Sharks have been more clinical, but the Dragons have had better field position. Tyrell slowing down the wing. He's over the sideline. No, he's throwing the ball back onto the inside. Well done. Oh, no, it's going to be a penalty. Penalty to the Dragons. For what? For a shoulder charge, apparently. I don't know where that came, but apparently it happened. V. Kerr says, will Mulatalo go over? How long is a piece of string? Mitchell says, don't listen. If you lose, it's all his fault. No, it's actually all Milford's fault, Mitchell. You've been around long enough to know that. You've been around long enough to know that, buddy. All right, so 11 metres out now for the Dragons. This could be huge to get off to a great start in this second half. 10 metres away. Oh, Poppet says, buddies are taking the spoon this year. Please. I feel for you guys because there's a lot of injuries at the Rabbitohs, but in the same sense, I don't want my team to win another spoon. So second tackle for the Dragons, 10 metres away. They give it to King Tegea. He'll give it out to Hayden Buchanan, and Buchanan will be taking it at the 13. Third tackle. Haggadah says, bro, your commentary is top notch. Appreciate you, man. You should join the NRL 360. Oh, mate, the amount of arguments I'd have with Braithen Astor and Buzz Rothfield. Oh, my gosh. The amount of arguments I'd have with Buzz. Dragons here, they'll be taken down to the 3. Really strong tackle. Oh, they're going to call 6 again. They're going to call 6 again. That's Hohepa Peru with the tackle there. So Dragons now, second tackle. They'll be 7 metres away here from the line. Jeez, big defensive set here for Cronulla at the start of this second half. Sorry, short ball into Blake Laurie. It'll be third tackle, 3 metres away. And that's poor defense. Oh, good scramble, actually, from the Sharks to hold him out. I thought that was a guaranteed try there for sure because it looked like there was a massive gap. But the Sharks do hold him out. Dragons 2 metres away. Give it to Blake Laurie, then to King Tegea. He runs it to David Clemmer, and it'll be fifth tackle here at the 5. This has been a good defensive set for the Sharks. Dragons have thrown a bit at him. Flanagan, King Tegea. They go to the left, and that's going to be... Oh, it was a knock-on that's turned into an actual good kick. He dropped that ball but got a boot to it. That's really nice. He did drop that ball, but he got a boot to it. So it will be a drop out here from the Sharks to the Dragons. Werby says, Wires play best when the chips are down and play worse when everyone backs them. Agree, but they've got a few injuries. But they'd be grateful that James Fisher-Harris and Channel Harris-Tavita comes back today. Jay says, make sure you hit the like button, sub up and jump in the chat. Lurkers always welcome. They're always welcome, son. Plenty of lurkers. Plenty of lurkers. So the Sharks with a short dropout, but it goes to about the 22, so a weird dropout. Not a short one, actually. It was probably about mid-range. Now, first tackle for St. George at the 15. Old Poppet says, Penrith absolutely smashed Newcastle yesterday. Yeah, but what's the surprise there? What's the surprise there? So Dragons are 7 metres away from the line, second tackle. We should be angry at Penrith for not hitting the 50 bomb. They blue balled us massively. Massive cock tease blue ball. Massive. How dare you get to 48 points and not score to make it a fitty bomb? It's disgraceful. Kick him out of the comp. Kick him out of the comp for not hitting their fitty yesterday. Kyle Flanagan to King Tagia. Lucian Alua crunch by Jesse Ramey, but he gets a good offload away to King Tagia. Good tackle there from Jesse Ramey, but he just didn't wrap the ball up. Chance here for the Dragons, Hamish Stewart. And he'll get the offload away as well. Damien Cook stepping around. No, he'll be taken down to 7. Oh, close to a high tackle, but I think they've utilised mitigation there. 4th tackle here at the 7. And 6 again, jeez. Dragons, you have to score. You've had so much ball on the line here. You've had so much ball on the line here, Dragons. You've got to put it away right now. First tackle at the 5. King Togia off to Blake Laurie. If the Sharks can defend this, this is worrying for the Dragons. But if the Dragons score, they'll take it to a potential 2-score game. 3rd tackle for the Dragons, 5 metres out. It's a good game, this. Jacob Little off to Sele. King Tagia short ball. Gatho with the try in the corner. Big Clint Gutherson will score in the corner. It will be 20-14 with the kick to come. Very difficult kick here. So it's a 6-point game, but a very difficult kick from the corner to try and take it to an 8-point game rather than a 6er. Luke Alexander says, Metcalf's missed kicks would have made for a better points differential for the Warriors. Sure, but the Warriors have had problems with their kicking game and conversions for years now. You know, whether it be Chanel Harris-Tavita, whether it be Luke Metcalf. That was a great pass, flat ball from King Tagia, by the way. But sure, but like that's ifs, buts, and maybes. At the end of the day, you chose to have Luke Metcalf as your conversion kicker. You chose to have Luke Metcalf as your penalty kicker, and he missed his kicks, which has been a problem for the Warriors for a good 3, 4, 5 years now. Even when they were very good in 2023, their conversion kicking game wasn't exactly spectacular. So yes, sure, you are correct. But if the Titans scored more tries this season, they would have been first place in the table. It's the same kind of thought process. Shay says, referring to the Brady Bunch Dragons. Oh, okay. I didn't actually understand it. I thought you might have been talking about the NRL, like, at the top. I didn't know who you were referring to. Justin says, what's up, Blaze? Have you tried the dog meat where you are at? Please go and seek help, Justin. Please go and seek help, Justin. But how about those cubbies, Justin? How about those cubbies? How about those old cubbies? Mitchell says, forget MILF. I blame Josh Goody. Yeah, valid. Paul says Dragons. Mo says let's go. Var says how long left? Still 32 minutes to go. So Kyle Flanagan, 50% from goals today. This is from the far left-hand wing. Difficult kick here for Flanagan, but if he gets it, it's an 8-point game. Why is the clock stopped? Why is the clock stopped? Why is the clock stopped? Don't understand why the clock is stopped right now. No. Flanagan will miss the kick, and it will be 20-14, so it's still a 1-score game here. Still a 1-score game. 4 tries to 2 here for the Dragons, but it is only a 1-score game. Why is the clock stopped, though? We've got 31, 32 minutes to go here of the game. It makes no sense why it's stopped. I don't get it. Oh, I've got to refresh this this score down here. Hold on. So, 20-14. Jeez, Jay, you're slacking. You're slacking, Jay. Oh, he's slacking, the old Jay. Old Papa says, so true. Penrith dropped the ball in the second half. They should definitely have had the 50. Shame about the conversions. Kicking from the comp. So the Dragons will receive the ball here at the 5. Kyle Flanagan off to David Clemmer, and he'll be first tackle at the 15. Jason, scroll up, Mother Bish. I'm scrolling up. Jeez, I'm scrolling up, and no, I can't see nothing. No, I'm actually blind in my left eye. Yeah, no, I can't see nothing. No. No, Jay, you've been slacking off. Johnson, yet another game dictated by a ref and 6 again. Well, if we talk about the 6 again count, like that was, the Sharks were giving away a bit just then, but if we are talking about the 6 again count, ruck infringements is 3-2 Sharks way, and inside 10 metres is 1-0 Sharks way, unless that hasn't been updated yet. So it's not dramatic. Penalties, you can see it's pretty similar, though, for both these teams. Fit tackle here for the Dragons, the 42. 30 minutes to go of the game, guys. Hit that like button and subscribe. We'll be live for all 3 games today. 30 minutes to go. 1-score game, Dragons way, and it looks like there might be some rain about to start coming down soon. Starting to get cloudy. Starting to get murky. Oh, no, the Sharks in the murky waters. Scary things there. Will Candy to Nico Hines. Sione Katoa. And Katoa tries to get out to the left, and he'll just get taken out of the 10-second tackle. Everything that keeps let's go Dragons, just out, down, let's go. If you are a Warriors fan, you absolutely want the Dragons to win. If you are a Panthers fan, you absolutely want the Sharks to win because they will be above you with a bye. If you're a Broncos fan, you're desperate because you'd stay as in a home finals position for the time being. But again, the Dolphins, if they beat the Roosters right after this, then you'll drop into 7th position regardless. Sharks, they need to do a lot more though. Fit tackle here at the 35. Jackson says, punch me to get a Stanley. Jackson, I don't know if you've made a single coherent comment today. I don't think you've made a single coherent comment. And now we said physical therapy and you. Yep, and Jay's timed him out. I knew that was coming. Jackson, I don't know what you're saying. I don't understand you. Why are you talking about physical therapy and me? Dad is pissing down. Don't you start this again, Daz, mate. We dealt with this last night. You told me Newcastle it was pouring down and it didn't even start raining until the second half. But in this game, it's also not raining. It's also not raining, Daz. But you don't want it to rain, Daz, because the Bulldogs play in Sydney later on tonight. And you guys are not good in the old rain. You're not good. I don't know if you know this, Daz. Don't know if you know this, but the rain isn't exactly a friend. Dragons here. Oh, it's going to be... Oh, Kennedy has saved a try there. Dragons broke through. Gutho puts a kick through, but Kennedy just sticks out his... Oh, maybe it was Jesse Ray. No, it was Kennedy, and then Jesse Ray picked it up. But geez, that was close for another Dragons try, and then... Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Sharkies knock on. Sharks with a knock on, and they're looking a little bit frazzled. A little bit frazzled, razzle-dazzled here, the old Sharkies. Fraud alert's knocking on the door. Oh, Ashley Klein's... What's happening here? A little bit of razzle-dazzle, frazzle. I thought he was about to call it captain's 2 commentary. Yeah, that was... I didn't know what he was doing. He was just telling them to come into the scrum at the 10 in the middle. John says, why 90% of 6 again is given inside the attack and half? Because the refs are dictating the score. I can understand what you're talking about in regards to 6 against being something that can be easily dodged, but do you realise what a 6 again is? A 6 again is a penalty, but it's just in the attack and a half. So inside your own 40, it's a penalty. Outside of your own 40, they give a 6 again unless it is like a really defined penalty, like a high tackle and whatnot. You know that, right? I'm not trying to have a crack at you. I'm just trying to help you understand that. The reason why that is the case is because 6 against can't happen inside your own 40. It really doesn't happen much inside your own 50 because there's only a 10-metre span there. Do you understand what I'm saying? So 4 tackling out the 10, but I'm not debating that 6 agains aren't relatively dodgy, but I am going to tell you that that's an incorrect thought process in regards to the way you put that. Flanagan off to King Tagia, Lucia Leilua, fit tackle, and it'll be Sharks ball at the 8. Sharks ball at the 8. Scott James, get around you, mate. Hope you will. Jason, sorry, Miss Jackson. Great song. Varsus, can the Dragons swim? Well, you wouldn't want to see a dragon swimming, but dragons are also much better than the sharks. Much better than bigger than a shark, sorry. So, if a dragon and a shark is the weirdest battle ever. Sharks can't fight in the air and dragons can't fight in the water, but dragons are very big. So, oh my gosh. Oh, luckily they caught that ball, Mulatalo. He wasn't expecting that ball. 3rd tackle. If you're not expecting that ball, Mulatalo, why are you close to where the ball is being passed? Why are you in the line of a pass? The Sharks are all over the shop. Yeah, they really need a penalty or they need a good kicking game here from their halves in Trindle or Hines, because right now it's very basic. But Kennedy out of the left-hand side here, this is huge. Sissa Vitalakai to the 50, huge run there. They needed that. Fit tackle. Give it off to Trindle. And Trindle puts that one up high. It's going to be tough in these conditions. It's going to bounce here. It's going to bounce, but the Dragons will get the ball at... Oh, he's lost the ball, Tyrell Sloan! Oh, and then it's a penalty against the Sharks. They're going to say it's a strip here against the Sharks, so a penalty to the Dragons at their own 10. Very lucky there, because Sloan did lose the ball, but it will be a penalty. Dazmate says, Dogs would have been on fraud alert by now if this was them. Hi, Daz. Quick little update for you. The Bulldogs are on fraud alert. The Bulldogs, they are on the fraud alert. Okay? They're there. They're already there, mate. You locking down that spot. You lost to the old Tigres last week. The old Tigers. Daz. Oh, that's a high tackle. That should be a penalty. And they didn't call that as a high tackle. That was a bit odd. Sharks are a bit all over the shop at the moment, man. This is worrying for them. 26 minutes to go. Still only a 6-point game. It's only a 6-point game, but... The Sharks are really worrying. This is a good defensive set here from the Sharks. Those Dragons at the 25. Odd Popper says they might have been taking swimming lessons. Don't know if the Dragons are taking swimming lessons. It's not raining yet, despite Dad's mate lying to us and saying it's pouring down. So Dragons at the 35 on 4 tackle. Dad's mate says, yes, ref put the ball down over the try line. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. So Jack DeBell on the 38. This is a really poor attacking set from the Dragons. Only maybe about 13 metres on that set. And now the Dragons will kick it down to the Sharks. Will Candy at the 15. Now just complete this set here, Sharks. That's all we really want to see. I know you completed the last set, but they just have been making a few mistakes here now. Sean said this is giving Sharks versus Rabbitohs vibes. No, it's not. That was a really boring game where the Sharks were not good, but won the game against a really poor team that have a lot of excuses. No, this is a very good game. That was a very bad game. Third tackle here at the 48. Mitchell says, put the dogs on scam just for Daz's comment and because Lagan exists too. Lagan does exist and I do want to do that, but I can't put the dogs on scam. I also can't put them on scam if they lose to the Warriors, but we'll see how they go. So if Talakai will lose the ball, and this is what I'm saying. They didn't complete the set, and the Dragons are away here. Tyrell Sloan. Oh, they lost the ball. Would you say advantage was played? Would you say advantage was played? Yep, 15 metres, so it's going to be Sharks ball at the 45. That's a huge call because I've seen that go the complete opposite way as well. That is a huge call, but I've seen that go the complete opposite way as well. Wow, okay. Well, 15 metres, it's like, I'm okay with it being called that way, but just be consistent with it. Just be consistent with it. Just be consistent with it. So Sharks with the ball at the 40. I'm okay with the call, just be consistent with it across all games. Oh, that's a high tackle. Jeez, we're not calling high tackles in this game for other teams, are we? I don't think we are. Second tackle here at the 35. Now, Will Candy gives it to Teague Wilton. And Teague Wilton's going to be 28 metres out from the line. Infinite Kiwi said, I don't know about that one. Well, 15 metres is advantage being taken. Like, they have run. They have run for a good 15. But it's not about that I'm criticising it. I'm criticising the fact that I don't know if that's what they usually call. I don't think they usually call that. Usually it's very... Yeah, I don't know. It's inconsistent. Nico Hines taking up the 10. Great tackle there from Clint Gutherson. Great. It's going to be called a knock on. Did he knock that ball on? The Dragons were all going up for it and saying there was a knock on. Sharks may challenge this. The Sharks are going to challenge this. Dazmate says, I'm in Newey, Brenton. I was there, you weren't, Daz. Yeah, Daz was there in Newey. Blaze doxed me, did he? Yeah, no, Daz is in Newcastle. And Brent, I'm going to dox you too. You are also in Newcastle. How about that? So he's got the ball there. He's got the ball here. He's got the ball here. I think they might say this is a successful challenge. He's still got his hand on the ball. He's still got his arm on the ball. This will be fine. This will still be Sharks ball at 10. I think this will be a successful challenge. It's still there. He's still got his arm on it. And the ball doesn't... The hands come off, but he's still got the ball in his bicep and his wrist. And if we're calling that try for Dom Young for the Roosters against the Knights, then this is not a knock-on. You can't call that a knock-on if you've called the Dom Young try, really. Yeah, however, the ball is pinned against his body, so it's not a knock-on. Successful challenge. Correct call. Scott says, just need Broncos to... No, I just didn't hear the commentary say Kevin Walters should be in the bunker. Don't get that man anywhere near the bunker. Don't get that man anywhere near the bunker. Kevin Walters in the bunker. You'll give me a heart attack. Scott says, just need Broncos to make the top 8 and Storm make the grand final. I'll make a donation to help with your travels to different countries. Appreciate that, Scott. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome if you do, man. But obviously, no guarantees. That hits the ground. It's going to be forward, I think. Yeah, it's going to be forward. So it'll be Dragons ball here at the 10. Dragons ball here at the 10. Well, Broncos should make the 8. Broncos should make the 8. Storm in the grand final is up in the air, but Broncos should make the 8. Brett Nesbitt says, no, I'm on the Gold Coast. You're a liar. You're a filthy liar, because I know you were at the Knights versus Panthers game yesterday as you watched the Panthers score 48 points on you. Infinite Kiwi says, bobble one hand, lose carry. No way. No, it wasn't. He still had the ball tucked into his body. But anyway, second tackle of the Dragons at the 18. This is going to be a fiery finish, man. Oh, it's a massive hit from CSC Vitalikai and Lucian Leilua. What a hit. Third tackle here at the 20. Dragons, in this game right now, the way it's shaping up is that the Sharks are starting to get a bit more momentum, but they're making errors, whilst the Dragons are really struggling for metres and struggling to get out of their own half and put themselves into a good area. But the Dragons have been the better team here today, not by a significant margin, but by a convincing enough margin. They scored 4 tries to 2. Molatala gets his ball out into the 30 on first tackle. So it's like the Dragons are struggling for metres, but the Sharks, although they're getting metres and they're getting some decent enough plays off, they're just making errors, which is coming to gutser for them. Dasmate says, no, that was me. Oh, that's going to be a knock on here from the Sharks, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. That is exactly what I'm talking about. The Sharks are making too many errors in this game. They are making way too many errors in this game, dude. Way too many simple errors. So it's 20-14 to the Dragons. Dragons' defense has been good today. Sharks' defense has also been good today. Oh, the Sharks are going to challenge us, are they? No, HIA. HIA. Yeah, David Clemens had a great game here today. Great game. The Sharks' completion rate in the second half has been 2 from 6. They were at 78% in the first half. They're now at 66% of 18 from 27. So the reason the Dragons are winning this game today is because they're at 93% completion with 31 from 33 sets. The Sharks are at 66% completion at 18 from 27. So people who don't know, 80% is the marker you need to be hitting. So anything above 80 is great. Anything above 90 is spectacular. They're at 93% here. And the Sharks, they're not only not at 80, but they're not even at 70. They're at 66% in this game. So this is very, very worrying here for Cronulla. But if you look at the stats, 151 runs compared to 111 in favour of the Dragons, that's 40 more runs. The run meters for the Sharks are better if you equate it, because it's 1173 and 981. If you try to equate 40 runs, the Sharks are well in advantage there, but obviously they're just making too many mistakes and not getting enough of the run meters to compare and the amount of runs. 20 minutes to go here of the game. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new around here. Massive game here for both these teams, and Gutho will be taken down to the 20, especially in a local rivalry game here. And the Sharks, you can't give away a penalty because that'll make it an 8-point game. Jack to Bellin, out the back into Flanagan. Flanagan here, they get hits Grass McGrath, and that's a knock on. Oh, he's saying that's not a knock-on? That definitely was a knock-on, but sure. That was definitely a knock-on, but sure. Dragons now, Flanagan. He puts this ball into a good area. Leilua knocks it back, and the Sharks will get the ball through Britton Okora, who you haven't seen much today, but that's a good pass off to Jesse Ramian, and Ramian will get this ball to the 20 on first tackle. Geez, this last 20 minutes is going to be bloody fiery. Nico Hines off to Sione Katoa. He'll get this ball to the 30. Don't give away a penalty, Dragons. That'll be absolutely crucial in this set. Sharks are making good meters, though. Third tackle to the 37. NRL Francis Nard, Dragons for life. Brenton says, get out, Dads. The man's getting a lifetime contract to the Knights. Who are you talking about? Will Candy? Oh, taking out the 50 on fourth tackle. Sharks have the record for the most times being put on and off fraud alert. Oh, no, absolutely. They're on scam. They're the only team that's ever gone on scam on BK Sport. They're the only team. Fifth tackle here for the Sharks, about the 42. There is a lot of passion and a lot of emotion from the Dragons this game towards the Sharks, which is really good to see. Knock on there from the Dragons. Knock on from the Dragons. The Sharks will get the ball here at the... No, it's just a knock on for the Sharks. Actually, going to be Dragons ball at the 10. That's going to be Dragons ball at the 10. Bailey says, I was expecting Britton to score. He usually does. Oh, sheesh. Dragons very risky with that one, but it'll be first tackle at the 15. Father and Son says, Dragons win when it matters. Well, they're 12th, mate, so I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I agree with that, but the Dragons do play up to their opponent and play down to their opponent. So I'll say that to kind of go on a similar wavelength with you, but at the end of the day, they're still 12th and going on to 11th with a win here. But ultimately, no, I don't necessarily 100% agree with that. Luciano Leilua, but a similar wavelength is to say that they play up to their opposition. So Dragons now, they get this ball to the 45, and now King Tagia, okay kick, but Kennedy's going to grab it at the 20, and he'll not pass it, he'll run it out to the 25 on first tackle. Oh, Papa says, I'm going to head back to sleep for a bit. I'm still knackered. Good luck, Sharks. Well, there's a massive game. All three games of rugby. Oh, that's the Sharks today. Sione Katoa with a really stupid fake dummy pass, and then he just knocks the ball on as he brings it back into himself. And that's the Sharks today. That's another incompletion. So now they're going to be they're at 18 from 28. They'll be about 64% completion rate today. The Sharks have been awful with their completion rate. Second tackle now at the 13. All right, Sharks. This is a massive defensive set for you. What was that knock on? It was an awful knock on there, Branson. Dragons. Oh! It's a knock on from the Dragons. They're going to challenge this. I think this will be an unsuccessful challenge. The Sharks nearly just picked that ball up and would have been away for maybe an 80-metre try, but they knock it on themselves. So they're going to challenge us here, the Dragons. This will be close. The Sharks definitely knock it on, so it's going to be a repeat set for the Dragons if it's successful. If not, though, because they're saying this is a knock-on here for the Dragons early. And then, here we go. Does it hit the fingertips of Gutho there? If it hits the fingertips of Gutho, they will call that a knock-on every day of the week. I'm pretty certain he touches this, and they call this a knock-on every day. Yeah, that's going to be a knock-on. Yeah, you've got to call that a knock-on. If anything, it's inconclusive, which was called a knock-on, so it'll be Sharks ball at the 10. And... you don't have... Yeah, I think he's touched that, dude. Yeah, there's not enough evidence to overturn it anyway. This is his best chance here, but I do think the ball goes faster once his fingers go past it, which means he probably touches this. It's going to be inconclusive. I think this is a knock-on, though. I think this is a knock-on. You can't tell me there's convincing evidence. Yeah, inconclusive, yeah. So, correct. So, it's going to be Sharks ball at the 10. I'm okay with that. The Dragons retain their challenge. I'm okay with that call because they get to keep their challenge, but we didn't know if he touched it or not. And if he does touch it, it's probably a knock-on, but there's no guarantee to say whether he touched it or not. The game is bloody hell, Cronulla. Biggest Dragons fan says the Dragons got this coming up. The Dragons. Close game right now, man. Still only a one-score game. Matthew says the Sharks just cannot hold the ball. This is embarrassing. Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. So Jacob Halangahu will make his NRL debut. He'll come on the field here for the Dragons. This is embarrassing for the Sharks, Matthew. They are playing, yes, in a rivalry game against a tricky opponent who did beat the first-place Raiders last week in Wollongong. But they should be expected to win this. Oh, that's a strip. That's a penalty. Damien Cook, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's a momentum change if I've ever seen one, Damien Cook. Oh, like, we all watched you. Damien Cook, do not challenge this. Do not challenge this. Please don't challenge this, Damien. We all watched you. No, you're going to lose your challenge, Damien Cook. We've seen you rip the ball out here. We have seen you pull the ball out. The camera angle was directly on your hand pulling the ball out. Why are you challenging this, Dragons? Why are you challenging this? I don't understand. We all watched him just then. We all watched it happen. The camera angle was perfect on Damien Cook's hands. There's heaps of arms there. Damien Cook's arm is right there, right there. Bro, are you serious, Damien Cook? Are you serious? That is a cooked challenge, Brenton. That is cooked. Yeah. The Vunga goes, it's a definite stripping action. And now it's potentially a dangerous tackle element. Oh, because he does go past the horizontal. Well, this could be huge. Dragons, you might have messed up challenging this. Damien Cook challenging this was cooked. So, challenge unsuccessful. One of the dumbest challenges you'll ever see. We all watched him strip it. That's cooked. So, it's not going to be a dangerous tackle, but it is a penalty here to the Sharks. Damien Cook is still arguing. He's still arguing about it. Bro, we literally watched you rake the ball out in front of the entire cameras that we can see immediately. I don't even understand why he thought that was even possible of a successful challenge. So the Sharks here will be at the 50. It's second tackle for Cronulla. Braden Hamlin-Dewelly at the 45. So Sean says, now Damien Cook, that's how you lose a game. Well, that's how you change the momentum for sure. 6 again now the Sharks, and this is what I'm talking about. But the Sharks have made a lot of... errors. Let's just see if they can complete the set. First tackle here at the 35, and it's Cameron McInnes now at the 30. Vars says try time. Yeah, well, you're going to get time out time because, one, there has not been a try time, and also, two, don't ruin it if there is. So, Nico Hines at the 30, but you're going to be seeing a timeout because you lied. Brett Nakora is 22 metres out from the line. Third tackle. Blake Brayley, he's going to go left-hand side to Nico Hines. Hines to Adam Fanor-Blake, and Adam Fanor-Blake is going to be 12 metres away from the line for tackle. Sharks have been usually quite clinical, not in the second half, but the first half they were clinical when they had opportunities here in this attacking area. Braden Trindle at the back into Kennedy. Kennedy steps inside, he'll be 8 metres out, fit tackle. But again, both teams defensively have been quite solid today despite the scoreline of 20-14. So Braden Trindle, he's going to kick this back into the corner. A little bit of a dink here for Molitalo. Knock on from the Dragons. Sharks take Wilton. And it's going to be a knock on, but it will be Sharks ball at the 10. First one off the Dragons, and it'll be Sharks ball here at the 10. They don't have a challenge to use. Hey, but guess what, commentary? They shouldn't use a challenge anyway, because guess what? We clearly saw it was a knock-on from the Dragons immediately from Tyrell Sloan. What's happening? What are we doing? What are we doing here, commentary? What are we doing? Jimmy Masters, way to waste your challenge. Such a stupid challenge. Matthew Smart says knock on Sharks. Knock on Dragons here. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, so right inside to Nicho Hynes. He's 10 metres out, and they're going to be now 8 metres. First tackle, 15 minutes to go here. Really good game this has been. Blake Brayley, not quality from the Sharks, but they're still in the hunt. It's 4 tries to 2. The Dragons have missed 3 of their conversions. Yeah, 4, 8, 12. No, maybe not 3, but... Oh, that's a high tackle. That's a high tackle. High tackles don't exist in this game here today. They just don't. Third tackle at the 3, Blake Brayley, and they're going to call a penalty. And they called the high tackle, what I was just complaining about. Oh, referees get me going, eh? They get me going. It took him 15 seconds to call the high tackle that we all called immediately. How can you even miss that? Like, it literally hit him in the eye, the tackle. It didn't hit him around here. It hit him in the eye. And Ashley Klein's right there. I saw it. You saw it. We all saw it. How does it take you that long? But at least they got the call right. Officials, come on, get your shit together. First tackle now, 5 metres out. Blake Brayley off to Nicho Hynes. Gives it to Braden Hamlin-Welly. He's 3 metres out. His second tackle. Massive defensive set here for the Dragons. 3 metres away. Blake Brayley out the back to Trindle. Trindle's got Kennedy. Kennedy here. Oh, it was a good rush-up defense from Corey Allen that could have gone 50-50, but it does go the positive side of the 50-50. So now it gives to Blake Brayley. Brayley off to Nicho Hynes. Sharks attack looks very sudden here. Adam Sivatalakai, sorry, he'll be 8 metres out from the line. And it's going to be 4 tackle now for the Sharks. Nicho Hynes. Hynes at the back here too. Trindle, this is good shape. This is good shape. This is good shape. This is good shape. This is great shape. And Will Kennedy will score. No, it's a penalty. Obstruction. It is a penalty for an obstruction. The Sharks will not score. And the Dragons get away with one there. And Cameron McKenna's going through. Nikora. Yeah, no, it is an obstruction. And Will Kennedy would have probably scored if Nikora doesn't get involved there anyway. So that's unfortunate that Britton Nikora comes in contact with the player because it's very definite. It's absolutely an obstruction. It's absolutely an obstruction. But if Britton Nikora doesn't get involved there, they probably would have scored. Kennedy had enough space. Mitchell says Liam Moore would have called that in 14 seconds. Liam Moore would still be thinking about that call. Brent says you can tell the bunger's in the ref's ear of late with the delayed calls. Yeah, 100% agreed. Second tackle now at the 38 for the Dragons. Sean says the Sharks always stuffing up when they go over the line. So Dragons now at the 48, third tackle. Gamer says, F me, you are biased. I am biased? To who? Who am I being biased for here today? Scott James says, if Sharks lose, are they back into the top 8 race? I don't even know who you think I'm biased to at all. If the Sharks lose, are they back in the top 8 race? Not really. No, it's a knock on there. Oh, it's a penalty to the Dragons from 30 metres out. A penalty to the Dragons from 30 metres out right in front. Sharks, do you challenge this? I don't know. Not clear in the ruck is the call. And you're taking the 2 every day of the week here if you're the Dragons. They're saying it didn't roll away. Are they challenging it? In my opinion, it's not deliberate passing it into him. Let's have a look here. Yeah, no, that will be called they'll be unsuccessful if the Sharks challenge it. That will be unsuccessful. So the Dragons now will have a chance to take the lead by 8 points. But gamers, please let me know who I'm being biased for. Please let me know. John says, hang tough, Dragons. Well, right now they're doing some pretty good stuff. Their defense has been extremely solid. Defense has been extremely solid, and they're about to take an 8-point lead, 2-score lead. You would assume Kyle Fleming kicking right in front. Still time here for the Sharks, but geez, they're definitely thinking about a fraud alert. Definitely thinking about a fraud alert right now. Kyle Flanagan is 2 from 5. He's 2 from 5 today, but he can't be missing this. He can't be missing this from right in front. Sorry, it's 20 metres out right directly in front. Moses, don't worry, he will miss the kick. Surely not. If he misses this kick, people should jump on the field and carry him off himself as fans. 11 minutes 41 to go of the game. Don't forget, right after this, we have the Dolphins versus the Roosters, and then later on today, Bulldogs versus Warriors. Massive day, rugby league. Matthew Smarts is $3 for the Dragons, not bad. Yeah, well, You know, they're looking good right now, 22-14. Haven't beaten the Sharks since 2020. But right now, they're on top in this game. And they've had to hold the Sharks out quite a bit. Mitchell says the ref is biased too, apparently. I'm just trying to figure out who old mate thinks that I'm being biased for. Who am I giving it bias to? Which team? Biggest Dragons fan, Dolphins Roosters will be such a good game. Both games, Bulldogs Warriors could be a massive one, and Dolphins Roosters should be a belter too. It's 8th versus 9th. Roosters need to win, otherwise for me the top 8's locked up. There is only 4 places you want to finish on. 1 and 2 and 5 and 6 get a home final. Not necessarily. 1, 2 and 5 and 6 get a home final in the first week, but 3 and 4 get a home final in the second week if they lose. Anyone in the top 6 gets a home final. So not necessarily. And if you come 1 and 2 and you lose in the first week, you actually get 2 home finals. 4 tackle now for the Dragons. They're going to be at the 50. 10 minutes to go here of the game, guys. Shargies, they're in trouble right now. Hit that like button and subscribe if you are new around here. Dragons on fit tackle will be 35 metres out from the line. The Dragons, they're hanging by a thread with their top 8 hopes to go and beat the Raiders last week, to go and beat the potentially the Sharks this week. But yet 3 weeks ago, you know, the Dragons lost the Cowboys. You couldn't write it. You couldn't write this Dragons team. First tackle here for Cronulla at the 5. Sean says it would be cool if they did aquatic team versus land animal team like Eels, Manly, Sharks, Dolphins. I don't even know what you mean. Matty Sonic says it must be a chick, Devo, because you don't stream the women's. Well, the thing is that once again, he trimmed left and Mulatalo's away here. Gets off to Talakai. Talakai the 20, the 25, the 30. Slips over. It'll be third tackle. So the unfortunate thing, Matty, is that the women's games are on during the men's games. Like the women's games are on now, isn't it? So it's too difficult for me to be able to do. I would love to do the women's games too, mate. I love it. Knights are up 26-6 over the Tigers right now, and the Sharks beat the Dragons 20-6 in the women's. But I love the women's game. It's just that unfortunately it's on during the same time as the men's, and that's what we do here on this channel, you know. So. But yeah, I don't have a problem at all with the women's game. I would love to do it. So Nicho Hynes now will put that ball up to about the 20. Good chase here from Cronulla. And it will be a take for the Dragons at the 20 on first tackle. 9.5 minutes to go here. Hamish Stewart with the grab. The game is that comment was biased. I love the spelling. Dasmate says there's no rubber willies being thrown in the field during NRLW, so that equals no views. Dude, that WNBA situation is so funny. I almost believe it's marketing at this point. I almost believe it is marketing from the WNBA. David Clemmer at the 35 on 4 tackle. Michael Paul says they are helping out the Warriors, the Dragons are, so Warriors can stay in the top 4. Well, the Warriors aren't in the top 4 right now. Panthers are currently in the top 4. But yes, the Dragons beating the Sharks would be massively advantageous to the Panthers and to the Warriors. And to the Broncos. All 3 of those teams. And the Dolphins, because the Dolphins can jump the Sharks with a win today. But Broncos fans will love it because they'll stay, at very least, in 7th. If the Dolphins win, they go to 7th. They're currently in 6th. But if the Roosters win, then the Dolphins will stay in 6th. Mulatalo brings it to the 30. Second tackle. But it just continues to show the ability of upsets this season. It just continues to show that nobody is safe, man. We haven't actually seen an upset this round, to be fair. But with that being said, this is always a possibility. So Sharks at the 40, Blake Brayley, good run. Nicho Hynes now. Oh, he will flick the ball out. It hits Grassy McGrath, and nobody was there. And Adam Fanua-Blake is way too slow at getting that ball. And penalty to the Sharks. That's huge. For taking out without the ball. 8 minutes to go to the game. Penalty to the Sharks is massive here. Massive. John says, any game that Ashley Klein referees, the games are marred with controversy and dubious decisions. I hope that he isn't the referee chosen for the grand final as he's atrocious and ruins games. Agree. What is the crucial decisions, the dubious, the controversial decisions that you're referring to today? I do think there's been some pretty poor calls across the game. But what are the significant crucial decisions that you're referring to in this game? But I will also agree with you that Ashley Klein, I'm not a fan of as a referee at all. Second tackle now at the 28. And now Blake Brayley gets it off to Braden Trindle, then to Thomas Hazelton. And Sharks, you've got to do something now. Third tackle, 20 metres out. They go left-hand side, Blake Brayley to Adam Fanua-Blake. Adam Fanua-Blake, short ball, and they're going to be 10 metres out from the line. 4 tackle. Sharks, what can you do here? Blake Brayley, he'll go left to Nicho Hynes. Hynes at the back into Kennedy. Kennedy gets away. Oh, he's 2 metres short. Good scrambled defence there from Hamish Stewart. Sharks kick it through. Mulatalo wasn't ready for him. The kick will go dead. It'll be a 7 tackle set. Not a good end of the set there for Cronulla. Not a good set. Not a good end to the set, sorry. So Dragons will get the ball here at the 20. Dragons will get the ball here at the 20. I don't know what the referee's calling time off here for. Oh, there's a challenge here. Or maybe for a player in back play who's down injured. Sharks believe high contact on a player. So it's, if this is successful, Sharks will get a penalty. I don't know if they go for the 2 or not. It's out to the left-hand side. I doubt it. Okay, so they're saying high contact. Yeah, that's high. That's high from Tyrell Sloan on Blake Brayley. This will be a penalty to the Sharks. Yep. They're just going to judge level of force. This could be a bin here. This could be a bin here. It's definitely a penalty. I think he goes to the bin here. That's direct shoulder contact at the head. No, so it's not a bin. It's just go. This is why I don't understand how Jack Whiten was suspended for 4 rounds. I don't understand how Jack White was suspended for 4 rounds for an accidental head clash, and yeah, he was sin binned in that game. But like we don't see direct high contact with the shoulder get binned. But it is a penalty. It is a penalty. Matt's on Sport TV says, looking forward to seeing Ashley Klein doing everything he can to make the grand final a close game. We all know what happened in Origin Game 2. No, we don't all know what happened in Origin Game 2. So right-hand side here for the Sharks, but we're not getting back into that conversation, man. You won't be able to pinpoint the calls. You won't be able to pinpoint the calls like nobody could at the time to say which was incorrect. Nico Hines at the back here to Adam Fanua-Blake. Fanua-Blake here, he's going to be 3 metres out from the line, second tackle. But again, we've gone to that to death, and it's just a ridiculous topic. So Blake Brayley gets it out to Nico Hines at the 10. Short ball, Teague Wilton, 3 metres out. Massive set here. Massive set here. They give it to Blake Brayley. Oh, Mitchell's done him out. Nico Hines goes in himself. He's 3 metres out. 4 tackle. This is good defense from the Dragons at the moment. Sharks here. Blake Brayley out the back to Grassy McGrath. Thomas Hazelton will get to the 5 and 5th tackle. This set just hasn't been going for him at the moment, but if they can score, they'll be down by potentially 2. Trindle. He goes backwards. He's lost the ball backwards. That's a tackle without the ball too, to be fair. Well, they're going to say that there's no tackle without the ball there. I'd actually challenge that from the Sharks because Kennedy hadn't grabbed the ball yet before the Dragons player was putting his arms around him. But it will be Dragons ball here at the 10. It will be Dragons ball at the 10. No, maybe not. Maybe they are going to challenge this. Yeah. So captain's challenge the Sharks. Oh, they're saying it's a knock-on. Oh, so to the potential foul play. So Ashley Klein said knock-on. I don't think this was a knock-on. I just thought that they said it was fit tackle switchover. Because Trindle, that's fine. That's gone backwards. Oh, is that contact to the head here from Halangahu, though? I think that's a fine tackle, but let's see if it contacts his chin. That's a high tackle. Oh, it's soft, though. Oh, it's soft, though. He does get him on the chin, but it's soft. It is contact to the chin. No, that should be fine. But that goes backwards from Trindle. I think this is knocked backwards here from Trindle. Oof. Well, they're going to say this is a knock-on here from the Sharks, so it's challenge unsuccessful. Yeah. Commentary's not exactly backing in the calls at the moment, and I don't disagree with them. That was a 50-50, because technically he does contact his head, but I don't think it should have been a penalty, but it's like, technically they do call that, and then they say that Trindle knocks that ball on. You can make the argument either way, but let's see if the Dragons can get out of it here. Second tackle here at the 15. 5 minutes to go here of the game. It's 22-14 to the Dragons. They might be winning their first game against the Sharks since 2020. Emmanuel says, I say it's been a fair game. I think that the better team is currently winning right now. I think there's been some bad calls, but I think that the better team is ultimately winning. The Dragons have been more clinical with holding the ball. 90% completion rate to 68% completion rate. 37-41 completed sets for the Dragons. 26-38 for the Sharks. You know, that's a key telling point. At the end of the day, the Sharks have made 12 errors, the Dragons 5. Penalties conceded is 7-7. Oh, Mulatalo with a great run here. He's away. The 45, the 50, the 45 on the Dragons side of the field. That's a huge run there. At the end of the day, you look at the stats and you can see why. Missed tackles, 26 for the Sharks, 14 for the Dragons. Every stat is leaning towards the Dragons. So it's like, yeah, sure, there's been some dubious calls and whatnot, but the better team is currently winning this game. Second tackle here at the 33. They give it out to Nicho Hynes. Hynes at the back now to Trindle. Trindle at the 30 gives it to Sione Katoa, and Katoa is going to be 20 metres out from the line, third tackle. You need to score here, Sharks. You need to score here. 3 tackles left. Now it's 4 tackle at the 13. Tigers got penalised for that. Where's the consistency, Mitchell says? This is what I'm talking about. 4 tackle at the 10. They give it to Nicho Hynes. Hynes at the 10. Short ball, Hazelton. Oh, good defence again. 5 metres out, fifth tackle. Here's your chance, Sharks. What are you going to do with it? Blake Brayley goes to Nicho Hynes. They switch it. He gets it across to Trindle. Trindle, this is very flat right now. They flick it across here to Britton Nakora. Britton Nakora runs it out. He flicks it to the grass. Sione Katoa here, there's a chance, there's space. It's fit tackling Katoa. Pass the ball, he does. He gets it off late. Then Trindle. Then he gets it to Braden Humunueli. Still last tackle. They give it across to Britton Nakora. Nakora across all the way on the other side of the field. They've got numbers here, the Sharks. Siosifa Talakai. Mulatalo throws the ball over the sideline. And for me, that's the game. The Sharks throw the ball over the sideline. And for me, I don't think the Sharks win from here. There's still 3 minutes and 15 seconds to go here in the game. But the Dragons should be able to still hold out here. And unfortunately, Sharkies, it's looking like you might be heading on to fraud alert. We do have to add you to fraud alert. We do have to do it, Sharks. You came off it for 1 week and you bag on it, son. Welcome back to the old fraud alert. You've been there many times this year. And guess what? The Dragons will receive a penalty as well. 3 minutes and 5 seconds to go here in the game. John says, I think the better team is winning, no doubt, just the way in which the game is officiated by Ashley Klein. Don't disagree with you. Manipulates the flow and moment of the game. I don't support either side. Don't disagree with you. I think the Dragons are well-deserving winners of this game. I think they've been the better team. Again, like we look at completion rate is absolutely in favour of the Dragons. 90% to 66% in favour of the Dragons. Sharks have actually made more metres with the ball, and I said this at half time. The Sharks have got a much better. They've made 1,430 metres for the Sharks, 1,428 metres for the Dragons, but it's a 24-run switch. Oh, Sharks are in the bin. Britton Nakora has gone to the bin. It's becoming a nightmare here at Kogarah. They're having a nightmare finish this game. This has been a nightmare afternoon for Cronulla because you are back into that top 8 race now, and you're probably out of the top 4 race. But the Sharks have made more metres here today, despite having 24 less runs. The post-contact metres is pretty much the Sharks' way as well. But, the missed tackles were 26 to 17 against the Sharks. Dragons with the more line breaks, the faster play the ball speed. They've got a forced dropout to none, which means they've been in a good area. The defense has been very similar, but at the end of the day, it's just the ineffective tackles that are hurting the Dragons. And 13 errors to 5 against the Sharks, 8 penalties against the Sharks, but only 7 penalties against the Dragons. Ruck infringements are 3-3. Inside 10 metres is 1-0 against the Sharks, and 2-1 on reports to the Dragons. And now the Sharks got a man in the bin. You just can't argue with those stats and say the Dragons didn't deserve it. They've beaten the Raiders last week. They're going to beat the Sharks here today. 2 weeks ago, they lose to the Cowboys, and you're just like, what the shit's this? This is the Dragons. This is what they are. They know how to win big games. They do. Oh, Nicho Hynes with an intercept! Oh, he's away here, the 40, the 35, the 30, the 25, 20, Sione Katoa. Katoa here at the 10. Oh my gosh, there was a chance here. They've actually got a chance. Despite the bin. Nicho Hynes with the intercept, and now Sione Katoa is 7 metres out from the line. And it's going to be Nicho. He gets that ball across to the left. If they get this ball out quickly, they get the ball short. They've got numbers here, Cronulla. Siosifa Talakai, Mulatalo. Mulatalo flicks it back into Talakai. And they're going to be 1 metre short even the line. Wow, this is a crazy finish. Second tackle. Oh, forward pass, game over. Wow. And you've got to commend the Dragons for the scramble defense there because they should have had an easy try on the left-hand side there. They have massive numbers, but the Dragons come across in defense again. And that's been the story of today's game. That'll now be the 14th error for the Sharks. That is really poor. The Dragons limited to 5. It's been a really good defensive effort from the St. George today. And the Sharks have thrown a bit at them, but they just couldn't get across the line. The Dragons will keep themselves in a potential hunt for the 8. I don't think they make it. They will go above the Tigers. The Tigers will drop down to 12th. The Dragons will go up to 11th. Despite their bye, they'll go down to 12th. But the Dragons are now 4 points out of the 8. They need the Roosters to win today to beat the Dolphins in the game after this if you want to have any chance. Because if the Dolphins win, they go up on you by 6 points, and there's only 4 games to go, and you need to win all 4 of those, and then hope the Dolphins lose all 4 because their points differential is so much better than yours. And that's why points differential matters. People argue with me all the time. Points differential matters. So first tackle for the Dragons at the 13. Emmanuel says Sharks and Broncos losing helps Wars keep high on the ladder for now. Correct. But with that being said, the Wars shouldn't be focusing on any other team besides themselves at the moment. They've got their own problems to be sorting out. They've got to be thinking individually rather than what's happening across the table. But technically, you are 100% correct. And we'll obviously talk about that during the Warriors vs Bulldogs game later on today. Don't forget, guys, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. We'll be live again in about 20 minutes' time for the Dolphins and Roosters, which is a huge game, dude. What a day of rugby league this is. And then we will be live again for the Warriors Bulldogs later on today. 300 Sean says, who do we think win first half, Dolphins versus Roosters? I think Dolphins win, but the Roosters have a really good culture where they just know how to keep themselves in the hunt, man. They've had a lot of player losses this year. They've had the second most amount of injuries this year behind the Rabbitohs, but a big gap between the two. The Roosters just usually know how to keep themselves there. So, look, I'm going to say the Dolphins, but in the first half. But I do think the Roosters are real sneaky. I do think they're real sneaky. Sharks will be Dolphins' biggest supporters tonight. Yeah, they'll want the Dolphins to win. I don't think they'll be the biggest supporters. It's kind of a catch-22. Dolphins win, the Sharks drop below them. The Dolphins win, the Sharks drop below them. Dragons get the ball here from a Sharks knock-on. That's the game. And the Dragons fans, you should be very happy with that because that was a very good performance to win 22-14. So the Sharks, obviously, if the Dolphins win, Sharks will drop down to 8th position, but will keep a 4-point gap between them and the Roosters and Manly. However, if the Roosters win, then the Sharks will stay in 7th, but the Dolphins are only 2 points below them, and the Roosters are only 2 points below them, and Manly are still only the 4 points below them. So, this is, how good is this season? Rugby league this year has just been absolutely off its chops, son. Absolutely off its chops. Home of the NRL is such a disappointing performance from the Sharks. Absolutely, dude. You got to look at that completion rate. That is the key telling point. 65%. No, 63% because that knock on just then. 63% completion rate for the Sharks today at 26 from 41, whilst the Dragons are up around the 90% at 88% with 40 from 45. 63%. For people who don't know, 80% is where you need to be hitting the mark. 80% is where you need to be hitting a completion rate. The Dragons, well above that at 88%. The Sharks, well below that at 63%. Really disappointing there from the Cronulla Sharks for sure. Really disappointing. Scott James says, do you think the Dogs beat the Wildcats tonight? We'll talk about that in the next game. John says, Dolphins win this. Their attack is too strong, although the Dolphins can lapse in defense at crucial times in games. Sure, agree, but who are they scoring those points against? Go back through their draw and look at who they're scoring the points against and look at who they struggle against. They struggled against the Sharks. Yeah, sure, you'll probably bring up the Bulldogs game, but the Bulldogs had all their origin players out in that game. So I'm just saying, look at who they're scoring those points against. I'm not a great deal impressed about, when you're putting on points against teams like and they still lost the Knights as well, mind you. But, they're putting on points against Rabbitohs and Cowboys and all these kind of teams and Dragons. So, look, anyway, overall, we'll see you guys in about 20 minutes time for the next game, which is the Knights, not the Knights versus Tigers, that's the women's game, for the Dolphins versus the Roosters. Obviously, do me a favour, hit that like button and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed today's stream, and we'll see you guys in 20 minutes' time. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya. And you're back on Fraud Alert, Sharks. You're back on Fraud Alert. Bloody sick.